Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Progressive Queens. We're back after an unplanned hiatus. We're here to discuss everything political from a female progressive viewpoint. I'm joined by my panelists, Mickey and Talisha. Guys, wave hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We're going to start off today's episode with a clip that I wanted to share. An interesting comment that a Congress or senator decided she wanted to make. So I want to get your reaction to it. So let me share this screen with you all because I almost burst out laughing when I got this. So let's see. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you all can see the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna play this.
Folks in Arizona know I've long been a supporter of the filibuster because it is a tool that protects the democracy of our nation rather than allowing our country to ricochet wildly every 2 to 4 years back and forth between policies. The idea of the filibuster was created by those who came before us, the United States Senate, to create comity and to encourage senators to find bipartisanship and work together. And while there are some who don't believe that bipartisanship is possible, I think that I'm a daily example that bipartisanship is possible. Not just the that John and I are doing, but the work that John and I and many other of my colleagues in both parties do on a regular basis. So to those who say we must make a choice between the filibuster and X, I say this is a false choice. The reality is that when you have a system that's not working effectively, and I would think that most would agree that the Senate's not a particularly well-oiled machine, right? The way to fix that is to change your behavior, not to eliminate the rules or change the rules, but to change your behavior. So I'm going to continue to go to work every day, aggressively seeking bipartisanship in a cheerful and happy warrior way, as I always do, and showing that when we work together, we can get things done.
The reporter's asking her about racism and how it was used for the filibuster.
Well, the filibuster was not created as a tool to accomplish one thing or another. It was created as a tool to together members of different parties to find compromise and coalition. And when you think about our founding fathers, when they created the Senate,
the slave owners,
senators from every state, regardless of population size, with elections staggered every 6 years so that only a third of the body is up for election each cycle. It was designed to be a place where you cooled the passions of the House, where you work together to find a compromise, and importantly, where you protect the rights of the minority from the majority, regardless of which party is in the majority at the time.
Well, I have to remember we're not permitted to swear because I'll tell you, what was running through my mind would have had me banned off Zoom forever. The people in government who have absolutely no clue about history, it boggles my mind.
Well, Mickey, you went first, and I was going to ask you to go first, so keep going.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
She says bipartisanship works. What part of 12 and a half years ago, Mitch McConnell getting on national news saying Republicans will block every Democratic move, and then did so for 12 and a half years, has been repeating it, including a couple weeks ago, saying again, 100% we will block Democratic moves. What part of that does she not comprehend? They have stated repeatedly, there will be no bipartisanship. They have said it outright. What more does she need?
Well, I think they're gaslighting us. She knows exactly what you just said, Mickey. She knows the origins of the filibuster. She knows that Mitch McConnell and those complicit Republicans have no good intentions towards our democracy. She knows this, but it's so much easier to hide behind a Republican and say, they're blocking us, as opposed to coming out and saying, I'm not for it either. I'm really Republican light. And the only thing that sets me different is maybe I won't kick a transgender out of a bathroom, and maybe I won't call a Black person the N-word. But best believe I'm standing behind those systematic policies that's keeping everybody that's oppressed down.
Yeah, I don't like to accuse people of drug use, but I kept wondering, what is she on? What is she on? When everything about that bothered me, but the thing that I think bothered me the most was when she went to the founding fathers card. And Talisha, like you, I thought, really, the slave owners? You gonna really go with that? Does she not know? I know she does, but does she not know that other people know the history of the filibuster? It's like, we know where it came from. We know it was racist. We know why it was instituted. And for people like her and our favorite other Republican like Senator Joe Manchin to just keep holding on to this and then expect for Republicans to just reach across the aisle like we are the world when they specifically said we're not going to do it.
Right.
I don't know how these people get
They
elected.
keep going back to the founding fathers who wrote, all men are created equal. Of course, they forget that women weren't included in that.
Right.
Blacks weren't included in that. Native Americans, Mexicans, immigrants, even poor white men were not included in all men. All men only applied to rich white landowning men, period. So if we want to go back to our founding fathers, let's bring that up.
How do people elect her how does she win? I'm like, what are the people of Arizona thinking? You know what? I got her and this Republican. I would just go ahead and vote for the Republican. Because
Right, but
I know what I'm getting.
the change happened when she got in office. She hid behind a progressive, banner until she got in office, and then I don't know if the money got to her or the true colors just came out, because this seems a little too on brand as a corporate Democrat for this to have just been, okay, they greased her palms and now she's changed in less than 6 years, because she only got elected like 4 years ago. She still got 2 years left, I believe. And so the simple fact is, she either was a really good liar, or the money talks, BS runs a marathon, because she's a totally different person than what Arizona elected.
Yeah, I think
I don't think
the whole time, because there's no way when you get into power like that, you're gonna show who you really are. I think she was like that. I think she used the progressive brand to get elected, and she said, "Aha, you can't get me out for 6 years. I got mine. Thank you very much."
Right, and then the Republicans may like her so much. I'm sorry, Mickey.
that's okay.
The Republicans may like her so much, they may just go ahead and reelect her, because she's turned out to be, one of their biggest advocates. So she may be safe.
I think that they get in office, the corporate Dems all pile on, even if her beliefs were more progressive. The corporate Dems said, hey, you want to advance in our party? You follow our party line.
Right.
Well, I want to disagree with you so bad, but I know what you're saying is exactly right, because it's like, like Joe Manchin, he's always been a knucklehead. I mean, he was a knucklehead from the beginning. He stayed a knucklehead. He's probably going to continue to be a knucklehead. So at least the people of West Virginia, they know who they're getting when they vote for him. But it's like with her, she was running under all these progressive ideas, got in office and said, what about the $15 minimum wage? She did that thumbs down thing in dramatic fashion. What was that? And then she came out and said something to the effect, well, I was for it. Well, why did you vote against it? That doesn't make sense to me. But I just wonder, sometimes you have to hold the electorate liable for this foolishness. I mean, we have literally 2 senators that are like, okay, Republicans, do whatever it is you want. And when the Republicans were in power, they didn't care anything about a filibuster.
No.
They didn't even come out of their mouths.
Well, the crazy thing is, Joe Manchin was right at home during the Trump administration. Heck, he wasn't even invited to their White House dinners, and no other Democrat was invited. So we all know he's a Republican. What is it? What do they call it? Democrat in name only, right? So we know he's a Republican. And 90, I don't want to say 90, but a huge amount of the Senate is also in the lane of Manchin. They just lie. And then people don't dig and do their research. They watch mainstream media that calls, like Jinx says, both sides even, and so they'll come out there with all the flowery words, we should have access to medical care. That doesn't mean Medicare for all. That just means that medical care is out there. Heck, I have access to a BMW. Can I afford one right now? No. So the simple fact is you got to listen for the buzzwords and the nice little, the platitudes, but where's the action? And they never have action behind it. They just say, listen, all they got to say is Black Lives Matter. And then you just won like 80% of the Democratic Party right there, if not 90.
Have either one of those two ever said Black Lives Matter? I don't think they have.
No, but my point is the other ones are just as bad. They just
okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, I'm like, I get it now, because I'm like, I don't think those two were in the Black Lives Matter crew. not from what I can tell.
But old Nancy took a knee for us and wore kente cloth, and now all Black people are happy.
And look at her shoes. Look at her shoes.
I was embarrassed. That embarrassed me, and I'm not even Black.
Yes.
I was embarrassed.
Yes. But
how
now
disrespectful.
Racism is solved because white folks took a knee. Apparently that's all it takes, and they think that symbolism is going to work, but people are getting hip. People are not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. They have realized that, our government is up to some real jacked up stuff, and no longer can you just get on TV and tell me nice things I want to hear with no action behind it. Folks are still protesting George Floyd's murder. They did not think that just because that one cop was found guilty that all the problems have been solved, like the Joe Biden administration tries to push. It is shenanigans, but right now we got to get the word out because more people are still listening to mainstream media that says everything's better again, the economy's better again, jobs are going back up. Oh, you mean those jobs that they don't want to pay you for? Those are the jobs that's better?
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that later on in a bit, because I find that whole thing very hypocritical. But I wanted to get back on this thing about the filibuster, because she's not changing her mind. The Democrats, all they would have to do is put some billboards right in Arizona, right in West Virginia, and say, hey, this person is keeping you from getting your money. Call them. What would that cost? Maybe a few $100,000, maybe, possibly. I mean, they sent Kamala Harris to West Virginia to get on radio for that little $1,400. Like, I guess my question is, which I already know the answer to, why do they pretend to be dissatisfied with these two Democrats or dinos when they're actually doing the same thing that those two were doing?
Because they're just, Biden and the corporate Dems don't want these policies passed. And they're using Manchin and Sinema as their front men.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want these. Come on. When Biden refused to overturn the parliamentarian on the $15 minimum, he told us what he wants.
Right.
All he had to do was wave his hand at Harris, and we would have had the $15 minimum. He couldn't do that little bit. He didn't even have to sign an executive order for that. He could have just told Harris, override it.
Right.
He didn't. And he believed. It's the same thing with all the other policies. He will do nothing because the corporate Dems and their donors don't want those policies passed.
And then I don't see why people can't see through that. It's like, okay, they're talking, but look at their actions. And I'm in that court too, because I voted for some knuckleheads, and I knew good well they were lying. But then I thought, okay, well, if this guy loses, well, even worse is waiting. And I didn't want even worse. And I don't know if that's the mindset of voters now. But there's got to be some sort of change, because these politicians are just, they're just on a train to stupid. I don't know who's driving it, but they're just saying things that they know they don't believe. at least with Trump, as much as I dislike him, he at least said things. I may have totally disagreed with it, but I'm like, okay, that's what he really thinks. Fine, we sell weapons to make money. Okay, I don't like it, but at least I knew that's your true opinion. Where you're getting schmucks like, I don't know, what's his name from Delaware Coons. Oh, I was for the $15 minimum wage, and the reporter asked why you voted for it. Because Bernie Arthur, really, you're gonna be that petty? You're gonna be really that petty? Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
At least Republicans, like to your point, Tracy, the Republicans are being honest. They said outright, 100% will block the Dems. They said it. They told them. At least they're being honest. Dems aren't being honest. They refuse to acknowledge that fact.
And then when they lose the elections in 2022, you know who they're going to blame? Progressives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were blamed for the loss in Congress. Oh, well, you shouldn't have campaigned on defund the police. That's not what. No, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's like, stop blaming us for your own incompetence. Stop it.
Well,
isn't it funny that?
Oh, go ahead, Talisha.
I'm sorry. It seems like they kind of have the progressives in tow, at least the congressional ones. That bill they just passed to fund the Capitol Police, I believe, right? And half the squad voted present, only 2 voted no. Present is basically abstention, so the majority wins. So it doesn't look like they have progressives to blame.
Well, who's the 2 progressives that voted against it? I forgot.
It was Cori Bush, and I believe Ayanna Pressley voted against it. Rashida, Ilhan, and AOC all voted present. Like, what are y'all doing? And I get the pressures because you don't want to make it seem like you don't support Capitol Police. Heck, these are the people that stood between you and a freaking mob. However, it's not money they need. What they needed is to take that white threat seriously, but they were too busy thinking, it's not like it's Black Lives Matter. It's not like it's Antifa. We're safe. So they didn't take a threat serious. It's not about money. It's about proper planning and paying attention to the intelligence. So they could have said that. They could have said, I'm voting no, and here's why. But they chose to do the yellow-bellied cow route and just like do nothing. It's sickening. And I don't know. I'm not facing the pressure they're facing. I'm praying when Firebrand Nina Turner, who will win this election come August, or at least the primary of it, I pray that once she gets in there, she can like steer the ship and they can follow behind her. But right now we're in trouble, guys, because the few little ones we had in our corner, they're shutting up.
Do you think the solution is to primary the progressives?
Absolutely not. I think they need a leader. And I think somebody like Nina Turner needs to come in, and I think we need more progressives, and maybe they'll remember what the heck they were sent to Congress for. I'm so not on that Jimmy Dore train saying that they're feckless and weak. I'm just saying they're outnumbered, and I think they're a little beaten. And I don't think they can, they need somebody that's going to stand up and can withstand the fire.
That's a thought. Because I'm thinking.
Then people complained, during the midterms. Well, this last election, every one of the squad was reelected. Everybody who was proposing Medicare for all was reelected. So they blame the progressives, but the progressives have the ideas and the people vote them back in. Does that not tell the corporate Dems something?
No, because insurance companies are too busy giving them money to say, we don't need Medicare for all. It costs too much. Yet and still we're fighting wars in outer space for some reason, even though nobody can live in outer space. I'll leave that a whole bit alone. It's just,
and that whole thing, it costs too much. Every independent study has shown that it saves both the government and the people money. Even when Trump got into office, he had the Koch brothers make a study. They paid for a study. Trump got the results, and he buried it on a Friday night news dump because he didn't want to know what the results were. His purpose was to prove Bernie was wrong. Well, the study showed that Bernie was right, and he buried that in Friday night news dump so nobody would know. Now, if he and the Koch brothers proved that it saves money. What more proof do you need?
Well, the problem is that I think that the Congress people that say that need to start paying for their own health care. That'll shut them up really quick. I'm sitting here, I'm paying for your health care. There are tax monies taken out of my check to pay for your free health care, your Cadillac plan, your Mercedes-Benz plan, your Jaguar plan. Meanwhile, I have Ford Pinto, Medicaid plan, Medicare plan or medical plan that doesn't cover anything with a high deductible, and you're telling me I'm asking for too much? No,
And you're one of the lucky ones. There are people who have none at all.
exactly.
You have access to it. Anybody who wants it and who can afford it.
And
they always leave off the who can afford it part.
I didn't understand why the public let Joe Biden get away with that. If it gets to my desk, I'm going to veto it. We're paying for your health care. I think for, I don't know how many years after he becomes president, we'll still be paying for it. But that
forever, the rest of his life.
It's like, okay, you don't want Medicare for all, pay for it yourself, and let's just see how that goes.
The problem is over 80% of Democratic voters want Medicare for all. Almost 70% of Republican voters want it. How much more of a mandate could you have when both sides of the aisle, the majority, want it? How can you sit there and say, the hell with you people?
We know why. Because the insurance industry is giving them money. It's like you say what we tell you to say. And if you want more of this money, you're going to keep saying what we tell you to say.
Right. Well, I honestly, even threatening to take away their health care, I don't think that'll help. They're like the richest people in our country.
I know
there's millionaires and billionaires in the Congress, and they probably, they might even poo-poo on the Cadillac plan they're getting in the Senate and the Congress, because they can probably get their own private doctors to come to their house because they're rich, they're filthy rich. So the only thing that's going to change the mindset is to change the people. You got to get rid of these people, because as long as, like you guys said, their palms are getting greased, they don't care about Americans. They don't care if it was 100% support. They'll still find a way to say, well, we couldn't do it. We tried, but we couldn't do it. They don't care because that money is coming quick and fast and plentiful.
The problem is, how do we get rid of these people?
That's
when we're allowing the Republicans to block millions of people from voting. How do we get rid of them?
That's where you get, and you don't know how the Supreme Court is going to rule on those things.
Oh, yes, you do.
I know they're going to uphold those laws.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to uphold them. The only thing that we can hope is that people get so infuriated that they can't vote that they show up to vote. That's pretty much our only hope.
The problem is exactly what they want to happen. There will be people who can't. With this thing with standing in line for 8 hours, not everybody can afford a babysitter to go stand online all day. Not everybody can take a day off from work and say they can't vote on Sundays now. Not everyone can afford to take the day off from work.
Right.
No matter how much somebody wants to vote, they're making it so that a lot of people that want to vote won't be able to.
And the Dems are doing their darndest to make sure even if people can vote, they won't vote for them. I guarantee you, at this moment in time, I will not be voting for Joe Biden come 2024. And my Congress and Senate don't really matter because they don't count because we don't have a state in DC. However, I imagine a lot of folks are not inclined to vote for these people that they sent to office to do what? Nothing? Because at this point, what have we passed? We've got the vaccines, which is wonderful. However, and we got that little bitty check that some people got because it was means tested, yet we're giving Bezos money because he didn't qualify for a space program. So we got those two things in the bag. What else? We're 6 months into this presidency and have squat to show for it.
Well, I have people crying and whining. Give him time. He's only been in for 5 months. And I said, okay, let's look at what he promised to do in the first 100 days. Let's take that apart.
Yep. Marijuana. That was supposed to be decriminalized. Kamala said there's no time for that. What y'all doing?
Takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of time to sign your name.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's things Biden could do, and he doesn't even need the Senate's approval, such as eliminating student debt. He doesn't even have to convene anything. All we need is his John Hancock. Just sign it.
And supposedly, okay, so y'all remember where he had his meeting with the civil rights leaders. And Cheryl Eiffel.
That he degraded all the people on the conference call, and we were supposed to be okay with it.
Well, apparently we are. He's got like 70% support. I don't know, symbolism, but anywho, Cheryl Eiffel was saying there's certain things that they wanted him to accomplish, and if the Congress wouldn't do it, if he wouldn't, get rid of the filibuster in order to do these are things he could do executively. And that such things was to end qualified immunity. That's a stroke of a pen to, instead of us getting the information about the cops killing people from, New York Times compiling a list of all these dirty cops, ending qualified immunity is something he could do. He said he thought that was unconstitutional. And on top of that, they were saying he could remove funds from police forces that were disenfranchising people's civil rights, because that's the same. It's a federally funded organization. It's the same thing they did with schools in the 60s. Well, old Joey Boy says it's unconstitutional to take away federal grants from public institutions. Say what now? It's literally a fight that was fought in the Supreme Court and upheld, that federal funds can be withheld from schools unless they desegregate. So what's the difference between that and making sure police have some type of, are respecting people's civil rights?
Don't forget, when he was asked about it, he had two answers. Number one, what do you think of the BLM movement? His response was, they have to stop the rioting and the violence. That shows his mindset. Number two, he's proposing increasing federal funding for police by $300 million.
Yeah. And we wonder why people don't want to vote. I'm like, okay. And I just keep, it's so ridiculous the way that corporate media -5 just away in. Just literally, it's like, I don't like to call people butt kissers, but this what they're doing. It's just so obvious. It's like, okay, don't you see it? But you talk to people and they're just like, well, I don't have any other choices. Yes, you do. You could vote for a third party candidate. Oh, well, no, that takes votes away from this person. And I was one that I used to believe
That's the point.
And I'm like, well, because audience, I voted for Ralph Nader the year that Al Gore ran. There was no way, no absolutely positively way I was going to vote for. It wasn't going to happen. No. So you're telling me that because if Nader wasn't in, I was going to vote for Gore. Not that I'm going to find somebody else's support, but I'm just going to vote for him because of what?
We've been doing that for 40 years.
40.
Right now, the Democratic Party is where the Republican Party was 40 years ago.
Exactly.
Maybe a little further to the right.
Yeah, they're so far to the right. I mean, you have progressives who keep running as Democrats, but like Talisha said, we need more progressives. And how are we going to get more progressives to, one, even decide to run? Second, to get across the media. And you see how they're treated when they're interviewed on mainstream media. It's ridiculous. The questions that they're asked, the tone that they're asked in. I'm like, okay, you think that person is just stupid, so you're going to say that question? And that I listen to tone. When I'm hearing a tone and they're down talking, I'm like, that to me makes no sense.
Right. Absolutely. The media is very complicit. They wouldn't get away with half the stuff they do. Biden right now, like if one more person, Ari Melber, kind of shocked me because he has a little bit of progressivism, in him, right? So he shocked me when he was saying, is Biden the next FDR? No, never, not even a little. But it's stuff like that, and people trust that mess, and then they see it and they're like, yeah, Biden's doing some great things. What's Biden doing? I have no idea.
I'll tell you
crumbs.
What.
He's throwing crumbs. He's throwing crumbs in the gutter for the peons. And the peons, we're starving. So we'll fight for those crumbs and be grateful for them.
Did you all hear a couple weeks ago where they were saying Biden is the new Bernie? I was like, are y'all are you? I'm like, Bernie Sanders or Bernie that was in that Weekend at Bernie's movie? Because I'm like, wait, you mean Bernie Sanders from Vermont? No, y'all couldn't. Well, he's in.
You mean the man that he said I beat that socialist?
That's what I was like.
I'll do that. I think y'all say that again just to piss me off because y'all know that's gonna drive me mad. Oh, that's a buzz right there. That's
arrogance.
a buzz.
After the DNC rigged the primary again, handed the nomination to Biden on a silver platter, screwed Bernie over. I beat that socialist. Could you be any more arrogant?
When literally, as Tracy said, totally Weekend at Bernie's. That's why I laughed so hard because the DNC was literally the two guys on the side holding him up.
And just moving them everywhere they want to. I'm like, that's the Bernie they need. They cannot be Bernie Sanders. They can't. They cannot. And I'm sitting here listening because, you know, I do watch the corporate media because I believe in keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. So I watch and see what they're talking about. Oh, my goodness. I'm like, are they? Well, he's done a lot, such as what?
Yeah, but don't forget that our corporate media is owned by the big corporations that also own our legislators.
Mm-hmm.
So of course that's who they're going to be. How they're going to report.
Just the new Bernie. Are they serious? Is he turning into Bernie? No, I'll answer that question. No, he's not. He is not. Unless you mean the Weekend at Bernie's guy. Okay, maybe. Because he certainly is a puppet.
So true. And like you said, you know, it's like they're for their team, right? So Fox and OAN has all this mouth. However, they're all complicit under that big war machine. So when Biden decided he was still going to sell weapons to Israel, even though they are literally killing a whole people, you heard crickets from Fox and you heard crickets from OAN.
What makes me angry about that too is progressives didn't put up enough of a fight to stop that. That's what really, I knew it was going to happen, but I'm like, okay, I don't hear you all speaking out against this. I hear no speeches on the floor about how this is so wrong. It's like, who is getting to them to get them to do what it is they're doing? That's why I kept asking, well,
did you see Netanyahu is asking for an extra $1 billion? And
he'll get it.
I'm wondering if they're going to give it to him.
I think they'll get it. I think they'll get more than what they asked for.
And what I don't understand is why the boycott, divestment, and sanctions initiative is so taboo, because the simple fact is that is the only reason why South Africa doesn't have apartheid to this day. And it was but it was literally reinforced by Reagan. Of all the Republicans on this earth that I can't stand, he's right up there. And he reinforced the BDS movement for South Africa and was basically telling them, if you don't stop, basically killing off Black people and taking their land and oppressing them, you will not get another thing, not another trade deal, nothing. But now it's so taboo. And if you bring it up, you hate Jewish people. I don't know how that's a thing. And then, like y'all said, the progressives, well, I don't really go along with the BDS movement, but I do feel that Palestinians have a right to exist. And definitely Israel has a right to exist. No one ever said Israel didn't have a right to exist. We built them the Iron Dome. We know Israel has a right to exist. Can these people live?
Yeah, that's a basic
question. Did you hear Netanyahu's speech where he told Biden, you are not to have a new nuclear deal with Iran?
And he won't.
Biden probably said, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
next order, sir.
Exactly. The thing is, we know Netanyahu has wanted war with Iran for forever. But he doesn't want to fight it. He wants us to fight it for him. So now he's giving Biden orders. I'll be curious to see what Biden does about this nuclear deal.
He's going to do exactly what Netanyahu tells him to. Exactly.
And then Biden likes to have all these little closed door meetings. Like supposedly he told Netanyahu to stop the air bombing campaign, but that was behind closed doors. Why is that not on Front Street for the world to see? Why does everything have to be done in secret? And why is the American people okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's really, it's like, and again, I don't understand why the progressives are disappearing on these these critical life-changing issues, and it's just like it's either they've gotten beaten down in the process and they just can't take it anymore, which is what I partially think is what's happening. But like you said, they need a spark, because I don't want to say I'm on the Jimmy Dore train, but I'm really, really, really close to it, because I'm like, okay, if you can't do what you were sent to Congress to do, maybe it's time to send somebody else. Maybe.
Yeah, but you would never be on his train, because even though you are espousing the same things, you're genuine. Jimmy had a goal in mind and was trying to get, ride their coattails to him getting more subscribers and more money.
Oh, well, yeah. I won't.
Literally trying to make a difference for our country. So you're not on his train.
But I'm on that train of thought, because I'm like, okay, Cori Bush and you said, who was that voted?
Ayanna Pressley.
They should not be the only two voting against that. Voting president, like you said, that's the same thing that fake progressive Tulsi Gabbard pulled when she voted against in the Trump impeachment. Like, really? You gonna vote president? You really? So
Tulsi's somewhere making right-wing money right now. She doesn't have time for us.
I'm glad she's gone. Like, goodbye. See you later. I don't have to ever worry about your weird, wacky
brand of politics.
Racist.
Duplicity.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, girl, go away. I can't even believe people were touting her as a vice president. For what?
Well, you know what's crazy? I actually defended her, because that Russian narrative is too much, right? Just because you say, no, this is not what it is, does not mean you're paid by Russia. And that literally is what the neo-libs are doing to avoid accountability. So anytime she'd come for Hillary, oh, well, she must be, part of that Russian smear campaign. No, Hillary was a flawed, terrible candidate, and she was the wrong person to put up there. And so when I heard not saying all the bad things against Assad, we know more than anything, granted, yeah, other countries do their dirt, but America does dirt. So for us to make it seem like Assad is just this horrible person and did all these horrible things, how do we know that's not just American propaganda? And it's never been proven that he gassed his own people. It's never been proven. There wasn't even intel that proved that. And so the simple fact is, we are literally depending on our government to tell us about people that they really want to kind of move out the way so they can get to their land, get to their oil, get to their good geological location, so they can have the up on some other country. So I took that with a grain of salt. And then, of course, because she's military, I felt the need to stand up for her and say, listen, she knows certain things militarily that we don't know. So if she's speaking against these things, and she was definitely speaking against the war, I had her back until.
I was done with her a long time ago, but that's just me. I'm just like, girl, sit down. Shut up, don't talk about it. But I do want to move on to our next issue before we go into our customary break. Apparently, our governors in certain Republican-led states have decided to withhold unemployment, because they feel as though the $300 is discouraging people from going to work. First question, who can live off of $300 a week? I don't know that person. And secondly, it amazes me that these corporations that have the McJobs, McJobs, have always told people, oh, if you don't want those jobs, don't apply for them. Well, now people aren't applying for them, and now you're complaining yet and still. Which one?
Don't forget when this started, Biden said, well, his exact words were, we're not going to let you game the system. If you're offered a job, you're going to lose your unemployment. Biden said that. So before we tear Republicans apart for it, let's look at the leader who said the same thing. You're gaming the system?
Yeah, and I tried
in other words, if you get a job, if you were making $20 an hour before COVID, and you get a job offer for $7.25, which isn't even going to pay your rent, never mind feed your kids, tough. You have to take it.
And there's no money to make up the difference.
Exactly.
There is no talk. And I tried to explain this to a friend of mine, and she was like, oh, she's really on the Biden train. And she's like, Oh no, he was just saying that. I'm like, no, but he literally said if you're offered a job, you have to take it. And
Right.
that job that they're taking, who wants to work 40 hours a week at a job paying $7.25? If
You
you're
can't
lucky.
make it. You can't make
You
it.
can't make it off of anything less. I'm gonna say I still say 35. I still think the minimum wage should be 35. I know everybody's out there, that's too much. But you can't make it off of 18, 19, 20. You cannot make it off of that because one, the rents are going higher and higher and higher. It's harder to buy a house because you have corporations buying homes. Then that's a whole nother discussion.
Right.
So if you put in a mortgage application, if you're black, your interest rate is going to be higher than your white counterpart.
Right.
If you move into a neighborhood that's reasonable, if you move into a neighborhood with high crime, you got to think about all those things. So to me, it's like, it's just what you all get that nobody wants to work for you. It's
Right.
like, oh, well,
There is no city in this country that a person making minimum wage can afford an apartment. No
Right.
city.
but what led Biden to say that? It's like, okay, you're giving it to, you're trying to defend it with, okay, that makes sense. You signed it. Wasn't it $400? And then it decreased for some reason to $3.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought I was.
That's the Republican way. They barter him down and he cowers to them. He
Mhm.
gets it all the way down where they want it. And then they don't vote for it anyway, but at
Mm.
least they got it lowered the way they wanted.
Right. Right. Banana in the tailpipe is what I call it. And then on top of that, the Republican, well, all the states already got the money. Where's this money going?
Yeah, where is the money going? Because I thought when and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought when the federal government mandated something and gave money to the states, they have to use it for what it's appropriated for. So if they're not using it for unemployment relief, what the heck are they using it for?
That's a good question. I'm sure it'll come out. We'll let Ryan Grimm and what's that other reporter, David Sirota?
David
They'll let us
Sirota.
know. They'll let us know.
Yeah, because I'm really curious about that. I'm curious about how they think $300 a week is enough to do anything.
It's not. Are they even still offering the plus up? Because it used to be the 400 plus however much the plus up was. I don't know if they're still doing the plus up because it was kind of like a marriage between the states and the federal government. So the government was doing the plus
I
up.
know in Indiana we're not. You get 300 and that's it, I think.
No one can survive off that. You just can't.
What state are they living in where $300 a week is nothing?
And if it is the case that the unemployment is lapping what the corporations are offering, this is not a people problem. This isn't a populist problem. This is a corporation problem.
Exactly.
Increase the wages.
You would think that's the main thing they would do. You'd be like, okay, we're not. I was watching something, I think it was The Hills that I was watching. They interviewed this business person. He had like an ice cream shop or a donut shop, whatever it was.
Yes.
And he had start paying $7.25, but he couldn't find anybody. He kept saying, I couldn't find anybody. And then somebody suggested to him to raise the wage. He raised it to $15, and now he has way too many applicants.
Yeah, but you had to have that suggestion.
But what gets me is big corporations haven't figured that out. I saw that story about the ice cream guy, and several other small businesses did that too. They raised their wages anywhere from $15 to $18 an hour, and they were just overrun with applicants.
Right.
Now, big corporations can't see that.
Yeah,
they don't understand.
I think I drove by a place, and I'm not going to name it because they may sue me, whatever. But they were like making up to $11.25. I'm like, y'all proud of this?
Up to.
Yeah, up to.
Gotta watch that.
Up to.
Right.
That means you can make less than $11.25. That means $11.25 is as high as you're going.
That's the ceiling.
That's it. You can't go pay. If you buy health insurance, if you work long enough to get health insurance and life insurance, you probably don't even get a dental plan, not at that rate. What is your check gonna look like after FICA and Social Security and benefits come out? You may
And
be.
don't forget, those people, some of them who are offering that higher wage, will not give you 40 hours, so you can't get any of the benefits.
Oh, you mean like Walmart?
Bam. And Walmart has the highest number of employees on public assistance.
Yep.
There's a problem with that.
Exactly. It's like, first of all, they don't pay taxes.
Oh,
Let Tracy Media start making money. I guarantee the state of Indiana is going to be like, you owe this much, and
Two
you
hands
have to pay
out.
it by this date, or we're going to start putting liens against your property. But somehow Amazon and Walmart and a whole lot of other corporations, they just get by scot-free. Nothing happens to them. Are you serious? So I have to make 50 and 60 and 70 million dollars before I'm not paying taxes. That literally makes no sense.
That's kind of why I guess, especially, well, Amazon wasn't, but a lot of the corporations, I don't understand why they were so against the corporate tax rate hike, because a lot of cities and towns forgo their taxes so that they'll come there and give jobs. And not only do they do that, but they also, it's something else they do where they end up getting money back with net zero taxes paid out from them. So like I will never forget that year that Blue Cross Blue Shield spent zero in taxes. They paid no taxes and they ended up getting like $6 million back. You know what? I owed my family of five owed $5,000 that year. I don't understand.
Yep, and it's like,
Well, that's happened with Amazon the year before last. They made over 11 billion in profits. Not only did they pay no taxes, they got over $1 million in refunds. Who do you think paid that $1 million?
We paid that. We paid that. But
exactly.
I guess I don't understand. How are you getting a refund if you're paying nothing in? It makes no sense to me. And maybe we need to get a tax expert up here to break that down.
That's because, as Bernie said, the IRS needs to be reformed, because that literally makes no sense. How can you? Right. That's like saying my company has to make $70 million before we're not paying taxes. Well, if I'm making $70 million, I should be paying more in taxes because I'm making more. I should be paying more.
Right.
But you're reversing it. You're making the ones that make nothing pay more, while all these companies are getting away with not having unions, not having good work conditions, offering piddly hours, offering piddly pay, making, at least in our case here in our state, the jobs are so far away from the city that it's not even making sense to go. Like most of the places that are harder are in Plainsfield and Carmel. They're not in Indianapolis because they're all out. And I'm sure it's like that in other states.
Right. It's crazy. I don't understand. Like I said, maybe we need to get us a tax expert up here that can break it down for us, make it make sense.
It doesn't make any sense to me, because I'm like, how are you going to be against a corporate tax increase? You've never paid it. You've never paid it. You had.
Well, let's go back to Biden. While he was campaigning, he said he was going to overturn Trump's tax cut.
Yes.
He was going to overturn it. That, since Trump cut it from 35 down to 21. Mm-hmm. If Biden's going to overturn that, that means going back to 35.
Right.
Biden gets in office and he says, well, maybe I'll do 28. He cut it in half as it was. Now he's negotiating with them to maybe bring it back to 25.
Ugh. Just makes me sick.
To me, when you say you're going to reverse a tax cut, it means you're going back to the original.
I mean, let's keep it in mind. This is the same man that said that we were getting $2,000 checks. Mm-hmm. Has anybody gotten a $2,000 check yet? No, we have not. So what he says to me is like, in this year and out this one.
And then they doubly means tested it. So they had already means tested it the first time. Oh. Then they means tested it a second time when they cut it down to 1,400. It's shenanigans. I don't understand. Like, we're not hurting over here, but trust and believe, we do our part. We have our debt from our military days or whatever. And I paid just my check, not my husband's, not my retirement, my check alone. I paid $15,000 in taxes last year. I didn't qualify for a stimulus. Like, literally, I'm pretty sure you can name a street after me somewhere in DC, because that was just my check. And, it doesn't include my hubby's check or the taxes I paid out of retirement. So I don't understand why these rich folks can sit there and say, you make too much, I'm going to cut you, in the same breath that they say they won't increase taxes on people making over 400,000 or less. As far as I'm concerned, somebody making 400,000, you can pay some more taxes because you're making 400,000 a year. It's crazy. And, well, sorry, sidebar. And then Mike Pence, just after the Capitol riots, just went on some type of trip to Paris. It cost like $265,000 to include his Secret Service and the time there and the hotel and the security and all that. $265,000. But you're worried about what, like you said, if Tracy Media made an extra dollar or two, the IRS is going to come out with guns a-blazing. I have a problem with the way this country is structured.
Yeah, because they coming. If I made 50 cents, they are coming for 10. They like we want our dime.
Maybe 35.
Who knows? I mean, it just makes me angry. Well, we are at the point where we take our customary 5 minute to the break. So, ladies, I'll see you all in just a bit, and we're gonna come back with our secondary topic of the show. Thank you all. So thank you, audience, for joining us for the second half of the Progressive Queens. We're back with our panelists, Mickey and Talisha and myself, and we're going to talk about non-trash politicians. And when I say trash, I'm referring to people like Mitch McConnell, who is literally trash. Joe Manchin is trash. I can name a whole bunch of other ones, but those two were the first two that came to my mind. So when you guys think about non-trash politicians, name someone that you think of who is not Bernie that have proven themselves to be non-trash.
Well, first one that came to my mind was Ilhan Omar, who, for the most part, speaks her mind and sticks to her principles. No matter how much she gets bashed and trashed, including by the corporate Democrats, including by Pelosi.
Right.
Does she always stand up for what I wish she would? No. But to me, she's one of the better ones because she doesn't care. She will say what she's thinking when it's true, knowing she's going to get.
How about you, Felicia? Anybody that you think of? This may be one of our shorter post discussions.
Definitely short. Definitely short. They have to be serving now?
They could be somebody in the past.
Nina Turner.
Nina's not, okay.
Nina Turner is my pick because she does not kowtow from negative media attention. They try to come after her with barrels blazing, and she stands up, withstands it. She says what she means, and she means what she says, and she literally is a fighter. And I admire her. I admire her a lot because, you know, she's not only served as a state senator, I think she was at some point on the city council in Ohio, but she wants to take it on a grander scale, and she wants to do stuff not just for her community, not just for Black people, but people in America, you know, not even just American citizens. She wants to help everybody who's disadvantaged and needs a leg up and just needs an equitable start. You know, it's so easy to say, just go out and get a job, or just, go to school and do this. But if you're starting 20 miles behind the start line, how easy is it to actually just go out there and do it, So I really love Nina because Nina fights for the little guy, and that's what I think we're all about here at Progressive Queens. But she's definitely one to follow and one to watch, because I think Congress is the floor, not the ceiling for her.
And the people feel the same way. As of right now, she's polling at 50%. The closest to her is Chantel Brown at 15%.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if the DNC started throwing money behind Chantel. And we see those numbers changed. Yeah. They're afraid of, they're terrified of Nina. Yeah. And that's a really good reason to support her.
Absolutely.
Yep. And you took my choice, Talisha. So that's got to sit here and think that who else is not trash. Dang. Oh boy, Nina was my pick. I'm like,
Oh, you're
Well,
welcome.
we've also got Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Presley, and the funny thing is, every one of them are women of color. They're
Right.
women, and they're women of color.
And Barbara Lee. You got Barbara Lee.
I'm gonna pick somebody unusual who I didn't even think about. I think Katie Porter is a non-trash politician. The way that she, and we talked about this, Mickey, on a previous show, the way she drills those big facts is just legendary. Now, I don't know where she stands on Medicare for all I would like to think.
She's for it.
Oh, okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
But she is one that I think has a whole lot of potential to just be great.
She also endorsed Nina.
Yes, and that put her miles ahead of the rest of them, because some of them happened and I'm like, okay, what's wrong with you? But and someone,
I think that when the squad endorsed her other than Cori Bush. Oh, it could have been Cori Bush. Cori Bush is a good one. I don't think I've heard of any of the squad.
I don't think any of the squad have endorsed Nina. I don't think it's down on her page, and I check her page like every single day.
Just making sure she's still there. Oh, but I'm sorry for interrupting. Please finish.
I was just gonna say Katie Porter is a non-trash politician. There's some I want to put on the list, but I'm like, you doing some real stupid stuff. And as soon as you said Rashida Tlaib, I'm like, I want to say she's non-trash so bad, but the way that they're not speaking, I'm
so many. The majority are such bad trash that only being half trash looks good.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Like crumbs you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like we have so many trash. I wanted to so pick the trash because we could just name them all day. We'd be like, this one, this one, this one. But
how much time you got?
Really? Yeah. But it was just, I think I'm just more disappointed in the squad, especially AOC. I'm just really like, what happened to you? What happened to that AOC?
Yeah, but you gotta remember, she's 20-something. That's a lot of pressure.
But what happened to that AOC that protested outside Nancy Pelosi's office? That's who I want back.
Wasn't that her first week though? That was 3 years ago. And there's been a lot of beating down over the last 3 years. I'm cutting her some slack. I don't understand the offering money to corporate Dems. I'm trying to hold on.
I'm still angry about that.
That was another thing. I was like, on that for what? Huh? And could you explain that?
Maybe she's
meanwhile, while Pelosi and the DNC were throwing money and endorsements behind all of the people who primaried the squad.
Right.
Exactly.
She still gave them money.
Right.
Yeah,
that was wrong.
Yeah, I can see her giving it to other progressive candidates, but you're going to give money to the people that's, what?
This is the whole reason why she created her organization, was to raise funds because the DCCC's crap that if you primaried someone, they weren't going to put any money behind the advertisers you go with or whatever. And so this was her whole reason for raising money, was to help progressives. I don't see how greasing the wheels of corporate Democrats is helping progressives.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, nah, girl, you're going to do some explaining because I don't understand that.
I think she's trying to get bees with honey. Like if I show them an offer of, unity, then they'll reach back. And she hasn't had her hand slapped enough, I guess. Maybe either one or two things will happen. She'll get hardened and figure out that these people are not your friends, no matter what they say on TV. Behind back rooms, they're doing dirt for you and trying to harm you, or she'll fall in line with them, and then we completely have to kick her out of our progressive tent.
Yeah, and that's where I'm seeing leanings towards the second one, and I don't like it.
Oh,
and that's what's making me like.
I'm not ready to kick her out yet.
No, I'm not.
Although she's not doing the legislating she should be doing, the voting she should be voting, she at least is out there every day,
right,
speaking the truth.
Right.
Yeah, I'll give her that.
Me, or have they just lately become just the tweet monsters? Like every 5 seconds they're tweeting something. Okay, that's great. I appreciate your solidarity. go put it into action. Like every time I turn around, there's a new tweet from, not really a lot from Rashida, but a lot from Ilhan, a lot from a lot from AOC, a lot from Cori Bush, a lot from even Nina. And I'm like, and I know Nina's got to get her name out there because she's running a race, but it's like, stop tweeting. Go do something. And I get it. They got a lot of opposition, a lot of pressure coming their way. It's not as easy as I make it sound, but maybe fall back a little and maybe do some of that behind the scenes stuff that Biden does, because you tweeting support and having no, action behind it is basically nothing.
Well,
You're doing.
I'll cut Nina some slack because she doesn't actually hold an office. Now, if she were doing that while she was in office, I'd be like, girl, can I give you back all my $305 I gave you? Because I want it back right now. I want that money back. But she doesn't hold office yet. So I can't hold her to the same standards as the AOCs and the Jamal Bowmans. I'm like, y'all need to introduce a bill, something. Just and I know I know Pelosi is petty and she puts people on committees. She's putting them on committees where they really don't matter. I mean, let's keep it real. That's what Nancy Pelosi does. She's petty. But
don't forget, these people, including AOC, have introduced a lot of bills, and Pelosi refuses to put them on the floor.
That's true too.
That's true too. That's true too. And so I'm kind of leaning more towards Felicia. I'm like, y'all tweeting just a little bit too much, or at least make the public aware of, hey, I put this bill on the floor, or I put this. Bill. I wrote this bill, but Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to schedule a hearing. Why don't y'all call her at 212-555-1212? Something.
Bridge is already burned. She's already kicked you or blocked you from whatever the ideal committee assignments are going to be. What more can she do to you? She can't put you out of Congress. So I would put her on Front Street every chance I got. You see Marjorie Taylor don't have no problems.
I would buy an email server with her phone number in it and be like, hey.
Right. It's a digital straight,
straight to her. Boom. I don't got time for it. And that's what's making me so angry with the squad. It's like, yep, right, Mickey, you're right. They are introducing bills. But who knows, would the average person that supports progressives know what those bills are? No.
No one will know.
No.
Because they don't talk about it. They don't talk about it.
Exactly. That's my point. Yes.
And when's the last time we've seen any of them come on some type of independent media? I know they ain't been on Young Turks because Jink will let you know every minute he gets that Justice Dems found AOC and she refuses to come back. Why are they not coming to independent media? Are they scared they're going to get asked the hard questions?
I think that's it. It's got to be.
And there's fair shows they can go on. Shoot. Our show is a fair show. Come on our show. We're going to ask you the hard questions. But guess what? We will give you a fair chance to answer for what we're asking you. We're not going to try to color it and make you seem like a bad person.
Well, I mean, it's just such a game. That's what I think it's, I'm trying to bring my own content over to, because I think he has progressive leanings. I wouldn't put him, he's not in the squad. I'm not going to put him in the squad, no. But I think he's for enough where I'm like, okay, no, you need to be doing this, doing this, doing this.
He's a Dem?
He's a Democrat. Yes, Michael is a Democrat. But to bring those people along, what am I bringing them along for? To a group of people that are passing bills and you don't have enough common sense to go to the media and say, hey, I'm trying to get this bill passed. Why don't y'all call her and let her know that this bill needs a hearing? And if it gets voted up or down, that's fine. At least give it a hearing. But it's like, okay, she's not going to give a hearing. Oh, well, I tried. And it's just really frustrating to me because, again, I'm leaning more towards, you know what? We may need to primary these suckers just to put the scare in them. Not necessarily to get them out, but just to scare them just enough to be like, oh, shoot. I'm here to serve the people.
Well, it's this lovely little thing called platitudes. So, I think you and I, Tracy, talked about when we were together this week, how Ilhan Omar, even though she gets all the drama around, she comes to Minnesota and is treated like a queen. So it's the platitudes. And a few years back, I didn't really understand the gravity of platitudes. I was like, what are you talking about? Because I used to think when Barack Obama spoke, oh my God, he's trying to change the world. It's the platitudes. He'll tell you all day long what he wants to do. It's the action that you have to watch for. So the policies and the platitudes aren't matching up. So Ilhan can go out there and say, yes, I represent Palestine, or not represent, but yes, I'm for Palestinian rights, and Netanyahu needs to stop this. Yeah, you know what would be better? If you say, I'm not voting for another thing, you daggone sure ain't getting any military money until you tell Israel to knock it off, you stop selling arms to Israel, and you get some real type of peace, two-state solution in there. So it's great all day long for her to say all the things we want to hear, but if she's not putting any action behind it, she's no better than what we perceive Barack Obama to be 8 years, 12 years ago, however long ago it was. So I'm with you guys, and I'm not ready to kick them out yet, but I need more than just these platitudes. I need some
action. And that's what's really making me mad, because I mean, they were saying the right things. You know, there should be monthly stipends, even when the virus pandemic is over with. Have any of them introduced? Maybe they have introduced a bill, but shoot, I don't know about it, because they aren't getting out there and saying, "Hey, I got this bill. It's HR 1025, whatever it's called, or however they name. I don't know." But I'm like, okay, what is it that they're doing each and every day? I'm sure they're doing something. I'm pretty sure they're not just doing nothing. But what is it that they're doing every day to deliver on what it is that they said that they wanted to do? I'm not seeing it.
Right.
Yeah, look what happened to Ilhan Omar, was it a year or two ago, when she stood up for Palestine? Both sides, Dems and Republicans, condemned her for being anti-Semitic.
Absolutely.
Nancy Pelosi condemned her and made her apologize.
And she should have never
Think about that.
An apology. I'm gonna be in the, and I know some of the evangelicals, all three of them that watch this show, are gonna be mad at me for saying it. But I'm like, why is she apologizing? What she's saying is true.
Exactly. She said nothing anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
she was talking about the government of it. Tell me something. If I criticize our government, does that make me anti-American?
No.
According to some people, it does. According to some people, it does make you. If you complain about the government to some people that wear blue MAGA hats and red MAGA hats, let them tell it America is the greatest thing that ever happened.
Right.
Without America, the world couldn't function.
Right. Right.
America is what makes the world go around.
I mean, we kind of do, because we have put our imperialism all over the world, and literally we've made it so other governments really can't function without our say-so, our input, or our blessing. And it's like when we pulled out of the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, it essentially fell apart, even though it was a multi-nation, multilateral agreement. And because we left, dead in the water. You know, and so this mess with Saudi Arabia, you think if we stopped selling them arms, every other country wouldn't turn their backs on them and refuse to support them? Even Russia wouldn't support them, because we have that big of a presence. But for whatever reason, we choose to use our presence for evil instead of good.
Delicious, you're talking about the way America is, but I'm talking about when people say America is what makes the world go around.
Yeah, but that's the same stuff they get on the news media, though.
Yeah, so the way they believe it, it's like America can do no wrong. And we all know that's a bunch of horse manure, because we know they can, because look at what country we're living in. But, you know, back on the subject of non-trash politicians, there's this list we should have at least 20 or 30. I don't think we've gone past 7. I'm thinking we're naming about 7 that we can't get past, and some of them were like, well, they haven't done everything that they should.
Half and half. Ro Khanna. I think Ro Khanna's great.
He came to mind.
He has his problems.
Yes. Yeah, he does have his problems.
But he's also a millionaire. And so at the end of the day, he will never feel that pain. And granted, great. It's great to have diversity of thought, diversity of background, blah, blah, blah. But I think when you're talking about actual people leading this government and making changes for the people who, I'd say 90% of our country is hurting probably right now, maybe bumping down to 80% of our country is hurting right now. I don't think a millionaire will have our best interest at heart. Just like it sickens me, this whole that Andrew Yang has got like had the top position in New York mayor race, because he will never understand the average New York City resident.
Wait a minute, didn't he live in Georgia?
I don't know. He had a house in New York, so now he's running for mayor in New York City.
What is it? Okay, because
I know he came down to Georgia to help with the race of
maybe
Ossoff and
helping up, because
the
I thought
Reverend.
he moved there. I'm like, well, because I kept saying, how's he running for?
He's also a millionaire, so he may have a house in Georgia.
I know his company is based
multi-millionaire,
And they got the nerve to talk about, my wife works at home, so UBI will be good for people like her. She's not people like an average housewife. She's a housewife of a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, because we have to make that distinction, because nowadays a millionaire isn't a whole lot of money.
No, it sure isn't.
Relatively speaking.
It's more than what I have.
All three of us combined.
But when we look at these multi-millionaires and these billionaires, there's a big difference.
Right. And I just don't think they should be making decisions for our country. Should they all be boxed out? No, I don't believe that. I believe everybody should have an input and a say. But I don't know if a Nancy Pelosi with her, what is it, her freezer, her $1 million freezer, however much this freezer costs, I don't think she could say, oh, well, we need to make sure we pay for all these bills we're passing. Are you paying for that bill that you send $700 billion to the military industrial complex?
Talesha, you forget one thing. She has a Medicare for All poster in her basement.
In the basement.
How do you forget that? But
and her district, she represents a district that is super wealthy.
Yes.
Super wealthy. So she's not going anywhere.
I don't think Feinstein's going anywhere either. And Feinstein needs to go. Like, she literally has dementia, but then so does the president of the United States. So I don't think it matters anymore.
Yeah.
And she's far gone.
Yeah.
Feinstein is
she's
far
running
gone.
again.
And she's running again.
She probably will.
To win. And if somebody tries to run against her, that's a Democrat, they're going to tell her, now look, you can't run against this person. You have to coalesce. That's probably the reason why I decided against running for city council, because I'm like, one, I'm not willing to run as a Democrat. What I think about the Democratic Party is like, take one of those little bitty stickies, cut it in half, and then cut that in half. That's about what I
could run as a Democratic Socialist. That's completely different than a Democrat. Democratic Socialist is about empowering the people.
But Talesha, I live in Indianapolis.
Well, you think you're gonna get any more love as a Democrat? Red hat, red state?
No, I live in Indianapolis, a completely blue county. To get elected as a Republican or an independent, you might as well just say, I'm gonna go buy $1 billion scratch-off ticket.
Just run as a Democrat and do like Kristen Sinema did. Rip off your mask and show the real you.
I probably said that I thought Joe Biden was a rapist. I can imagine somebody using that. She said, I'm like, yep, I sure did say it. And
I'm trying to find the lie. I'm looking for the lie.
With a 50-year history, proven history of it.
Yeah, I'm just like, this county is so, like, you want to talk about blue MAGA? Indianapolis, Indiana is blue. Indianapolis, Gary, Evansville, South Bend, blue MAGA to the extreme.
Well, I'm wondering how my brother-in-law is faring, because he is a Trumper through and through. Now, I decided not to tell Tracy that when she came to visit us at my sister's house.
Because I'd have turned around and left. I'd been like, I'll see y'all later.
But my sister, she loves Biden. Ugh. I don't know how they make it. I don't know how they're together.
Opposites attract, I guess.
I guess.
I'm like, I went on a one of those dating sites where they say, like, what's your political affiliate? I'm like, not a Trump supporter. Just not a Biden supporter. No. I'm like, I don't have anything left. But,
you're a woman without a country.
I'm exactly. And when I was starting to think about non-trash politicians, have you noticed none of us have named a president? Like,
we haven't had one. Jimmy Carter.
Yep, that's cool. We've had one non-trash president,
and they only gave him one term.
And one term. I was gonna say FDR, but then I forgot. Oh no, can't include him because he was racist. I'm like,
Now, I did hear, and I don't know how true this is. I don't know, you guys' history may be a little better than mine, but I did hear towards the end of life, he started to recognize the wrongs, that he did leave Black people out, and he was apologetic for it. I don't know how true that is.
I'll have to research that.
Yeah,
I
I
hadn't
have to
heard
research
that.
that. I know that he shut Jesse Owens out of his visit to the White House. I do know that.
Yep.
Was that him or was that Truman? I thought Jesse Owens was the Truman era.
Jesse Owens was.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was FDR.
Jesse Owens was FDR.
Y'all probably know better than me.
Yeah,
but we're all looking at our phones.
I'm pretty sure Jesse Owens was FDR.
Okay, I trust y'all way better than mine.
Nope, it was FDR.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just Jesse Owens.
Yeah, it was any.
He wouldn't let. He didn't any of the Black athletes.
None of the Black athletes.
The white ones he did.
But he did have Nina Simone, I believe. Which one? And I hope I'm not mixing them up. One ended up dying in a cell because she was like they arrested her for her activism. Was it Nina Simone? They just did a biopic on her.
That's Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday, dang it. Oh, I'm mixing up my super singers. Anyway, Billie Holiday was able to go to the White House, and she had some of these discussions with him that he found quite interesting. So I think she probably dropped some knowledge on him.
When we were naming non-trash politicians.
He didn't come up.
We was like,
however, as less trash, because what was Kennedy's vice president, Lyndon B Johnson, he instituted civil rights.
No.
He was forced to do it, but he still did it.
Lyndon B Johnson is the worst of the worst.
He was racist, but
I disagree. I disagree. He at least, even though it was pressured into it, he at least did some of the right things.
Yes.
That's because he was pressured into it. I'm like, this guy, no.
That's what you got to do. Look at Biden. He was pressured into, I think it was getting them kids out of that abandoned whatever that they was like housing the kids at, and they were
on the toxic waste site.
He was pressured into that. And everybody thinks Biden's the next FDR, and then freaking Nixon, EPA. So as trash as they were, they did some good,
Johnson
I would add if we're going to go back in history, RFK.
But he wasn't president.
The brother?
No, he wasn't president. Yeah, but he was attorney general.
You're right.
He was much more progressive than JFK was.
And
he was much more civil rights than JFK was.
Towards
he
the
was
end.
proposed, huh?
Towards the
end, yeah.
Because I do remember he also signed off on Martin Luther King surveillance. So
who didn't though?
Back in you have to remember back in the 60s, any politician who stood up for Black people, that was a huge step in the 60s. A huge step.
I'm pretty sure that's probably 50% of what got JFK killed. I always thought it had to do with the, partially the civil rights. I think he also was dipping into some business he didn't have. They didn't want him in because, at the end of the day, we love to say that we have presidents, but we also are under the United States of the CIA and the FBI.
Now, we all agreed that the founding fathers are all trash.
All trash.
Okay. Just as long as we got that, I'm like, okay.
Oh, well, I got into it at work, it was a couple of years ago, but they were like, well, if you start taking down, it was something we were talking about taking down. It wasn't the federal. It wasn't, not the federal. It wasn't Confederates. It was like somebody that was supposed to be on the right side. And I was like, they were like, what's next? George Washington? Yes. Goodbye, George Washington. Goodbye, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson literally raped Sally Hemings. You know what I'm saying? And
for years,
writing history,
years,
calling it a love story, and they wrote each other letters. First of all, you had I hate these words, slave master relationship. There was never ever going to be a consensual anything between you two. So he was the worst of the worst because he was one of the founding fathers, but still one of the leading voices in Madison, leading voices in getting their freedom from Britain. And then you turn around and you own people. Make that make sense.
Well, I've got an argument with my sister about Lincoln. And she's like, oh, Lincoln's the greatest. No, he's not.
He didn't want to free the slaves. He did not want
slaves. He only did it. Wait a minute. What was the reason? I always forget. He only
because there was more people not wanting slavery than wanting it. So it was for the sake of the Union.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yep.
If
No,
the
Lincoln
Union could have
wasn't
maintained
racist.
peace, he would have left slavery intact.
Exactly. Oh, she was like, oh no. I'm like, no, Lincoln was trash.
I'm with your sister. I didn't find that out till I was a full-grown adult.
I
My
was in
kids
high
schooled me.
school because my history teacher was black. So maybe that's why I got taught it early. I was like, oh, okay, got it.
Wow.
It's so much I didn't know. And like my kids taught me that Gandhi was racist. Yo, you could have knocked me over with a feather when I heard that Gandhi was
I
racist.
didn't know that until you told me not too
Oh,
long ago. Then I
right.
had to do
See,
some research, and
I knew that as a teenager.
Well, so apparently the
I
Norfolk,
didn't.
Virginia school system failed Talisha Randall Conklin.
But
Because
that's
they
because
did.
I did my own research too. I didn't just go by what they were teaching us in school.
Yeah, but you don't know what you don't know, you know? So if all you heard growing up was this whitewashing of history and basically told that, you know, black is white and white is black, you're not going to know till you know. Like, oh, shoot, black is actually black. So,
And
Yeah, I think I've told you this before, but mine started very young, and I don't know what there was in my head that said it was wrong. But when I was a very young child, Cowboys and Indians were all the television shows, and I'd watch them, addicted to them, still am to some
right,
extent, and it bothered me, without knowing why, the way the Indians were treated.
right,
And I would ask questions in school and pretty much get slapped down because in the 50s in school, in Native Americans, blacks, Mexicans, all the bad guys.
right,
And I was, to get out of the house, I spent most of my time, I was the nerd in the library. And I would go digging through books as a little kid until I found out a little piece of truth. And my activism started by researching Native Americans and what we did. That's how it started. And then it eventually moved on to African Americans. And then how we stole the Southwest from the Mexicans. I learned
right.
that at a very young age. I never stopped. And now, more than 60 years later, I'm still learning new things
well,
every day.
and thanks to the great state of Texas and Arizona and New Mexico that want to completely take that away, we may have children that may never learn that. But then I started thinking, you know, back on our non-trash politicians, I could not get past 6. I was like, okay, that's it. And then I added in Eden, and then I went back and said Bernie. Then I went Aunt Markle, that got it up to 9. And I'm like, what?
You mean Ed Markey?
Markey. I said Merkel. Markey.
You're fine.
But it's just some trash out here. And the way the media sells, like even the Clinton administration. I remember when Clinton was running, that's when me and my sister and I convinced our mother, you have to vote, because she had never ever been a registered voter. We were like, you got to vote. This is your duty. It's something people die for you to do. She votes. Reason she voted for Bill Clinton was why he's black on the inside. Are you serious? He has things against black people than just about. He's almost up there with Reagan in terms of his policies against black people.
As he was running for office, there was a black man accused of murder who was diagnosed as not 100% in the faculties. And he put him to death as the governor of Arkansas to prove to the Republicans that he was tough on crime. Yeah. And everybody and their mama, like, beseeched him to let this man, you know, whatever, the pardon, give him up.
You know why? Because he got on the Arsenio Hall show and badly played the saxophone. That was I'm like, that was terrible.
So we should go back in history and F Arsenio Hall up. This is all his fault.
No, I'm just like, how did you? I'm just like, I just think, you know, that was my first, like, kind of like, okay, there's some stuff I've been learning, especially about what I learned about Malcolm X. When I was little, it was like, oh, he's the devil. Yes. He's this and that. And then I finally read his autobiography. I'm like, how the tarnation did I not know this? Right. How did I not know this?
Because the white supremacy is real, and Malcolm X, because he was nonviolent, was the choice for all the.
You mean Martin Luther King?
Did I say Malcolm X?
You said Malcolm X.
Well, y'all know who I meant, but
I'm like, wait a minute, because
Martin was considered. Yeah, he was considered the good one until he started talking about, what is it, equitable payments and ending the war, and then it was like, nope, gotta kill him. So, but in the beginning, when he was all nonviolence and whatever, they were loving him because he was taking the power away, so to speak. Because if we could just march peacefully as opposed to demanding our freedom, you don't need to do anything. Well, listen to the speech and then go home.
You can't be too hard on King because we do get his birth date off.
That, and I think he started to change his ways in the way.
Yeah, I'm like, don't be too hard on Dr. King.
He actually started talking about a UBI in his latter days. That shocked me. Like, some of the stuff I did not learn till I was a full grown adult, and I'm not talking early 20s, early 30s. I'm talking about 40s, you guys, and I'm only 44. So I'm legit 6 years into my
Talisha, in 1 month I'll be 73.
You're
I just learned about Gandhi. I just learned about Gandhi from you a couple of weeks ago.
It's crazy.
There's so much buried.
Yep.
There's no way you could possibly learn every single detail.
No.
And I've been studying this since before I hit my teens, and I still learn something new every day. So don't kick yourself for that.
Yeah, don't. Because the way the system just keeps us from being non-educated. Look at in terms of, and this will probably be my final thought on trash politicians, but look at how the black media treated Barack Obama. Oh, you better not say anything. You better not say
anything. It's
anything.
Still like that. I don't know how you put that in past tense.
I think some black people are waking up to it. But of course, we're still called Uncle Toms. But I just the way that we hold politicians in too high regard.
Yes.
It's like none of them can walk on water. None of them can feed. Well, they could feed 5,000 people if they felt like it, but they don't.
They don't.
They can't perform miracles, but somehow we're supposed to esteem these people instead of letting them know, no, you know what? You work for me.
Exactly.
You either do it or I'll find somebody else to do it.
You can't put them on a pedestal. They're not leaders. They're supposed to work for us.
Yeah, they're not leaders. But every time we look for, when we get our leadership panels, and I'm guilty of doing this too. First people I think about are politicians. I'm like, wait a minute. Hold on. What's wrong with John Q. Public? Yeah. John Q. Public knows just as much as representative takes too much money from corporations. What's wrong with that person?
Well, I'm cool with bringing them on panels if you drag them for the filth. Bring them on panels all day long. Hold them accountable. And back to what you guys said, it's time for the squad to start naming and shaming. If you're not going to start putting it out there, who is blocking this? Who is standing in the way of this? Don't say nothing at all. Because telling me there's a problem without telling me the root of the problem is no way to solve it.
That's another thing that frustrates me. And that frustrated me to death about Bernie. He kept saying, well, Bernie, who's that? Who are they? Like,
name and shame.
Names? If they're doing it to be like Joe Manchin over there is taking money from this people, that's why he's voting that way. And if he doesn't like it, he could stop taking money from them.
Right. And people are not like Mickey for the most part. They will not go out and research. We got Open Secrets right on, the web. All you got to do is go to opensecrets.org. But nobody's looking at that. They're depending on mainstream media to tell them who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. And
I can't tell you how often I post a link to Open Secret.
Right.
Just when Biden was doing this stuff about Israel has to protect themselves, I posted Open Secrets to show that Biden took over $3 million in bribes, donations from pro-Israel groups. And I post Open Secret. I use that all the time. People say, no, can't believe everything you read.
And it's the fact.
But you believe him.
I think I have for the most part given up on convincing people because you're going to believe what you're going to believe. I'm just going to keep telling the truth. And if you don't like it, that's your truth. But you got
to be ready to receive it.
Exactly. And most people think, or I have people that think they're progressive because they watch CNN. Really? 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 CNN is so court. Are you serious? No,
Nope.
I'm progressive. I mean, Hillary Clinton said she was progressive.
Mm.
I'm like, girl.
Nancy said I'm a progressive. I'm like, I'm gonna need to change my
Yeah,
my moniker.
I don't know what progressive means. Maybe she doesn't.
Oh, she know.
But I'm just like, you're progressive because you watch CNN?
Mm.
No, you're a corporate Democrat and you don't even know it.
Right. And what I mean by folks have to be ready to receive it, because you couldn't tell me nothing about Barack Obama, even his second term. You couldn't tell me nothing. The only criticism I had is I wish he was a little more assertive to the Republicans. But as far as not helping communities in need, not nailing down the immigration crisis, booting more immigrants than any other president before him until Trump came along, not dealing with the college debt.
I think he's booted more than Trump.
I know Trump surpassed him, I believe, but not by much. You know what I'm saying? And so as far as any of that never even registered on my radar, because news MSM told me Barack Obama good, Republicans bad. You know what I'm saying?
And if you criticize him, you're criticizing either you're a self-hating black person,
yep,
Uncle Tom, or you're racist.
Right. Or you're a Republican.
You're a Trumper. You're a Trumper.
Well, now you'd be a Trumper.
Now you'd be a Trumper.
Yeah.
But,
and so I get that folks have to be ready to hear it. I wasn't ready to hear it until Hillary lost, and then I was lost because I didn't understand, because everybody told me Hillary was the one. She was going to continue Barack's legacy of helping America and giving us, what was his thing? Hope and change. Giving us more hope and change. And Hillary cared about us and, didn't know all the effery she did to Haiti and all the effery they did overseas to, and I'm military. So of course I'm not hearing all this effery that we're doing. And when I woke up, and I hate the term woke, but I mean, I literally woke from just a neoliberal, blinder. It was ugly what I saw. Yeah, I literally feel like I'm walking around looking at demons all the time.
And once you do wake up, it's a hard landing. Definitely a hard landing. Well, guys, we got to end this recording not end the recording, but we're moving on to the second portion of the show where all profanity is lifted. But I want to invite everyone watching this portion of the show to like, share, and subscribe. And remember to support us on Patreon. Guys, thank you for tuning in, and to watch the bonus, subscribe to us on Patreon. And now we may continue.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
So Kim Brown tweeted me today. She said we need to have our own progressive queens.
Ask her when. She thought she said we was name it.
Okay. We
Say
got
that again. I missed that.
Kim Brown, Burn It Down with Kim Brown. She asked when we were going to have our own progressive queens. So I said, okay, boo. She was like, let me know. And I was like, okay, boo.
Yeah, so any Saturday she wants to do it, that's fine with me.
Okay. We got to give her the pre-spiel, no cursing, because Kim curses just like me.
Yeah, I'm like, no. Yeah, you didn't tell her that before?
I don't think we went that deep into it. I think I just saw her that one time. This is how cool we were. I saw her that one time on Marcus and Mondale's show, which apparently they're not taping any more episodes. Haven't seen them in forever. And then I found out she was in Maryland, which is right up the road from me. So I sent her a DM and I was like, hey, we got to get together and maybe we can have you on our show sometimes, Progressive Queen. She's like, anytime, and you should come on my show. Burn It Down with Kim Brown. I ain't been invited yet, but still, and it's just always been that promise that we would come on each other's shows and just have it. So, but she shouts us out every chance she gets. So
that's great. That's great.
That's good.
Yeah. So we got to bring her on. Oh, this was nice. It was so nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
I really.
I've been wanting to. Talisha, you have the most beautiful smile I've ever seen.
Really? Because I lost my braces, so my gap came back, and I really need my braces back.
That has nothing to do with how your face lights up.
Oh, I love you.
You do have the most beautiful smile.
Tracy,
and I miss that
more.
more When you're not here, I miss that more than anything else.
Oh, yeah, I definitely got to send her something. But yeah, it was great coming back together with you guys. And, like, so I've kind of checked out. So I'm so glad for you guys because y'all kind of kept me abreast of what's been going on because I started watching Young and the Restless again last weekend. I haven't watched Young and the Restless in like a year. So I had to get caught up and I've kind of stayed out of the news. Every now and again, I'll like peek on YouTube and see what's going on. I haven't seen Young Turks in forever.
You know why you haven't seen clickbaity? Marcus, I think, was in the hospital.
He was, and then he did like one show after he got out, and he said Mondale was out of town, and then they didn't do another one.
Yeah, because I think Mondale's working on some kind of special project or something with the black voter, something.
It's like some men project, right? What vibe do y'all get from Mondale? I like Mondale, but I almost get like F everybody else except black men from him. Am I bugging? Am I reading too much into this?
You know what I think, man. I'm not even gonna cut no chases.
Mondale? You don't like Mondale?
Me. And he dark and chocolate. That girl, that's
all. Oh, you like Mondale? Okay, okay.
I'm like, that's all you had to say to me. I'm like, whatever. I'm not even listening to what he's saying. I'm just looking at him like, okay.
I mean, but if you ever hear him talk, and then now that I'm thinking about it, even though I don't watch Ben Dixon anymore, I'm so over it. Like, matter of fact, I've unsubscribed from all of his stuff. And then every time YouTube sends me a suggestion, I say, do not suggest this again, right? So I'm over him. But when I think about it, like literally he left the morning show because he brought Rebecca on. Do you hate women? Like I had to start thinking about that. And I don't know if I'm just now questioning everybody and everything now.
I think you're just questioning everybody.
Up is upside down.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to question both sides, question everything, and then look into it, and then you'll have your answers.
Yeah, but
that's the problem. Too many people won't question.
Yeah. Right. But you just see the Democrat and go with it, right?
I don't see the problem with them having a show with all men on it. I really don't. Just like this show, we've never had a male panelist. Probably won't ever have a male panelist. That doesn't mean we hate men. I don't
know. We watched, right? Y'all all watched the justification video they did, right? Yeah. I didn't get that vibe from Marcus though. From Marcus,
he hates women.
Not that he hates women. I don't want to say it like that, but it's like chauvinist. I felt a chauvinist feeling.
Most men are chauvinists.
I didn't get that vibe from Marcus, and I don't get it from Ben, even though he was a total asshole to Brianna.
No, I think most men are chauvinists. I do think most men are chauvinists. Just
I reserve the right not to like you for being chauvinist.
I don't agree. Maybe no. I've met too many and talked to too many online who aren't.
Right.
Every man I've ever met, I would classify as chauvinist.
Maybe they have chauvinism, but not just chauvinist.
I guess I don't get, well, first of all, I'm not listening to anything Mondale is saying because I'm too busy doing this. So the words, what he's saying, it ain't hit me like that because I'm just looking at the aesthetic and I'm looking at what he's saying, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen him in a while, so maybe when they come back with their show, I can watch a little bit more and get a feel. But I kind of just checked out of all of them because one, I did not like that shit that Ben did to them. That was just shitty. How him and his wife etched them out. That was number one. And then the next time,
of their own show.
Say it again.
They're one of their own show. They're the ones that started clickbait.
Exactly. Matter of fact, so much so that Ben had to change the name to Like It or Not. Nah, bitch, I'm not watching your shit. So that's one. And then number two, when they went to nights, I think what got me is the old clips they were playing of them and Jason Johnson. And
that was it. I'm like, I'm not watching this fool.
That's when I fell back, and that's when I stopped subscribing to their show. I need to start subscribing to Progressive Queen so I can get some money in your pocket. Maybe we can start some, some goodwill.
You don't subscribe to the Progressive Queen?
Well, I'm like, who the hell pays their own check? I'm just saying.
You know how much money I put in this show?
Yes, you're the host. You're the host and the owner of Tracy Media. You have to invest. I'm the talent. You're supposed to keep the talent happy.
Girl, see, now you starting to sound just like Mitch.
Okay, I get 904 in Social Security every month. How much should I donate regularly?
903.
What you said?
903.
903.
I'm leaving her with something.
Nikki, don't mess with Tracy. Tracy gonna have you outside on the street dancing for your next rent.
No, I own my home free and clear, have for many years.
Perfect.
Thank you. I'm not.
Just be
I wouldn't be able to live on Social Security if it wasn't for owning my own home free and clear, and the way I live. I live very green, and that saves a lot of money. So I'm luckier than most. It's not. I hate to say lucky because I've been very unlucky in my life, but I've worked my ass off planning for the future, and was lucky enough in that I always got jobs that paid well. And if they didn't, I wasn't on them long before I got raises. So I was able to save, and I'm in good shape financially, even only getting 904 a month. I'm content.
But isn't that fucked up? You lived your life, you worked hard, you paid into the system, and even though it probably wasn't the best phrasing, you feel lucky that you are able to live. You should never have to worry about a thing. You have paid into the system all your life, and these should be like carefree times. You shouldn't feel anything. Like, this is what you owe me, bitches. But you're you're so humble. But
I see other people. I see so many suffering who have also worked hard all their lives.
Exactly.
And it's no fault of their own.
So you're the exception and not the rule. And you should be the rule all the time.
Exactly. Like what happened. And I didn't talk about this on the show because it's local, and I would have broken my own don't curse, even though I don't normally. Our local hospital has decided to outsource their IT. Just all of a sudden.
To India?
Yes. They're going to outsource all of it to India. And the guy was like, they didn't even tell them.
Wow. So they're just out of jobs.
They're just out of jobs.
Wow.
Didn't give them time to look for something else. They just showed up to work. You don't have a job anymore.
No severance? No nothing?
No.
Wow.
I was like, I will never go to St. Vincent Hospital for anything.
Oh, shitty. That's very shitty. I don't think people to lurch like that.
But companies get away with this kind of crap all the time. Think about how many people had their pensions taken from them because some company invested wrong.
Right, absolutely. Or the city invested wrong. And now all of a sudden the city's broke, files bankruptcy, and now people's whole life savings are gone.
Exactly.
And that's the shit your boy Mitch McConnell wants to do. He's sickening.
You know what? I still say there should be a law that Congress people, if you serve in Congress, you're not getting paid for it.
Or you don't get 175 grand. I imagine they'd be a little more apt to increasing the minimum wage if they didn't make $7.25 an hour. Like, I would totally make them pay, earn the pay that they're fighting for.
They only work 6 months out of the year. They don't even work a full year.
177 days out of 365. And that's if they show up every time they're supposed to.
Oh, and, or do like Cinema did when she didn't even show to cast her vote for the January 6th commission.
Really?
Did not vote. Did not show to vote. That's why I split first, because I was like,
I'm a little on the fence with the commission. Fuck Cinema. I don't care for her, but I'm on the fence with the commission. Why are we having a commission again? Like, the simple fact is we know exactly what happened. What the fuck is the point of this commission? The FBI is supposed to be investigating and finding out if there was any internal, conspiracy. Why is there a commission?
I think the way and I thought like you until I heard the mother of the police officer speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's holding them public, although I don't know if you need a commission to do this necessarily, but she talked about holding people accountable for their actions that caused that.
Yeah, it's called jail. This seems like it's a waste of money, and it seems like, what the fuck are we investigating? The simple fact is, ignorant ass maggots short for MAGA or long for MAGA, came out, decided that their orange idiot didn't lose the election and decided they were going to try to take over the government. Problem solved, commission done, check out.
No, what I want the commission for is I wanted exposed the 5 or 6 Republicans who gave reconnaissance tours the day before.
That's what I'm
The
know that.
Republicans who have had their tweets, their emails, their phone calls recorded. The Republicans who met at the Trump Hotel the night before. I want the insurrectionists punished, but I want to know what proof there is, what videos, what photos, what documents they have on the people in Congress who were complicit.
And
yeah, but we already know that. And at this point, I think the commission just prolongs it. They need the FBI to file charges and there to be public court hearings. This commission does nothing. Is there anything at the end of this commission? Are they going to be able to hand out convictions? No. Are they going to be able to? The only thing they're going to be able to do is say, this is the report we typed up, and say what we already know. And at that point, then you have to beseech the federal government to lock them down or hold them accountable, send them to jail or whatever.
What became of the hearings that they had in the House? Andrew Clyde testified under oath that it was just a normal tourist day.
Yep.
He needs to go to jail.
We hear what you say. I think I want the commission because me personally, I think that some of the police officers had a whole lot more to do with that than what they're letting on.
And Trump, how many times they said how many hours went by, something like 17 phone calls to Trump to call out the National Guard, and he didn't act.
And I don't think you can accomplish that in a hearing. But
you guys already know this. You already know this. And because people hated Trump so much, best believe, at least for once, mainstream media reported this accurately. So they told us about the, however, prolonged response and that Mike Pence had to be the one to make the phone call because Trump refused. They told us about, what's that fool that he gave, the Nixon's boy, that he gave a pardon to, that's from Florida, the one that was part of the Brooks Brothers thing.
Roger Stone?
Roger Stone. They told us that Roger Stone was a part of this collusion. They told us what
Congress but we can't do anything about that until they have the concrete evidence.
Yeah, we need the concrete.
Right. That's why you have feds. That's why the federal government, the FBI, as compromised as they are, but that's why you have them to come in and do the investigation. This commission will do nothing but give you a report. What came of 9/11? You know what I'm saying? We had a 9/11 report that shows our intelligence agencies failed exponentially. Did anybody get fired behind that or anything like that? Or did they give more money to the intelligence agencies because they don't talk to each other?
And we got more laws. We got more laws passed that
that locks us, the citizens,
restrict our freedoms.
Right.
That's true.
So, I mean, I get what y'all are saying, but I really feel like it's a waste of time. I feel like this is information we know, and I get what you're saying, Mickey. The evidence needs to be gathered, but I don't think there's going to be anything but a 900-page report that gets buried in the archives of our national archives. And what really needs to happen is the FBI needs to do some more digging. And, granted, good, go get the insurrectionists, but also, just like you said, there is a paper trail for these fucking complicit as politicians.
My problem with that is I don't trust the FBI to investigate our legislators.
You trust the Congress to investigate legislators? Because I don't.
Even put Marjorie Taylor Greene out of office, which I was like, y'all should have been kicked that person out.
Yo, Matt Gaetz still has a seat on the United States Congress after his bitch ass was accused of sex trafficking. Nancy Pelosi could do something if she wanted to. So if you think for 2 seconds that the House Speaker and all her little minions are going to do anything but write up a report and hope we forget about it because now we want to move on because Trump is no longer in office and Joe Biden has a fake agenda to pass, I got a bridge to sell you. I think it's going to be a waste of time and money that could go better to the citizenry, and you empower Merrick Garland to fucking wreak havoc because he got bones to pick with motherfuckers that refuse to give him a goddamn hearing so he could become
now that's what you do.
Supreme Court justice.
You unleash him and let him go. Just like, hey, dude, go. But here's the only reason I'm for the commission. Yes, you're right. We already know this stuff. But we, like Nikki said, we need that legitimate, concrete, here it is, this person colluded, this person in the police force was in on it, we need to start.
Yeah, then you get an independent investigator, not unlike, what was his name, the one that let us down, Mueller, but one that works for good and not like a Republican less horrible than the other Republicans he was protecting. You get an independent investigator and his staff to go in and do that. I don't think you need a congressional hearing to prove to you what you already know. You just need somebody to gather the evidence.
The chances of them getting a special investigator approved are slim.
Why? You have the House, the Senate, and the goddamn presidency.
Yes.
Trump, who appointed Robert Mueller? The one that was filling in for Sessions, Rosenstein. So now you tell Merrick Garland to appoint a fucking independent investigator, somebody that both sides can agree on, because we're all about bipartisanship.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the part I'm talking about.
But at the end of the day, you don't really need to.
You have me thinking, and I might come to your side after I do some more thinking, but I disagree with the both sides agree on. Just
no.
I
somebody that's considered above reproach, fuck what they agree on. I'm just saying somebody that's considered above reproach, because somebody that's not going to be looked at as a Democratic operative, somebody that's down middle of the road, not.
But they're never going to agree. If I'm understanding,
there's somebody with integrity that both sides would not be able to.
Republicans will never agree. Republicans will never agree.
We don't need them to agree. We don't need them to agree. I'm sorry for interrupting you guys. I'm all passionate and shit. We don't need them to agree. We just want, once this person's report to come out, that's why fucking Rosenstein appointed a Republican motherfucker, because when it came out, no one was going to be able to say, oh no, he's out to get Trump, because he's a Republican. So somebody that after the fact won't have their report ran through. You know what I'm saying? So who is that person? I don't know at this point.
They don't exist, because the Republicans, even if you got somebody who you're describing that's down the middle, that won't be leaning towards one side or the other, the Republicans are still going to find a problem with that person.
Yeah, but I'm not so much talking about Republican Congress people. When I'm talking about when this report comes out, I want the American people, no matter what side they fall on, they can say this was an independent investigation and it was not some Democratic operative with something to prove. You know what I'm saying?
That's the way they sold look at the way they sold the Mueller report. How many people could say that, unlike me, because I did read the Mueller report, can say, I read the Mueller report. Everybody was either like, it's a witch hunt. It was two trains of thoughts on the Mueller report. It's a witch hunt against Trump. That was your MAGA people. Then you have other people like, this is going to impeach him, which it really didn't. It was neither one of those things, but that's how it was sold. So I'm for a commission. Not that I think it should be hundreds of millions of dollars, no, but I'm like, I want that concrete. Once you find out who those Congress people are for getting tours, goodbye. Get somebody else to replace them in Congress, because you're gone.
Yeah, but you're depending on the Congress.
I know.
To have this commission and make this decision. You've got the most dishonest actors in Congress on both sides, but definitely on the Republican side. So even if that commission comes back, they're going to find a way to say there wasn't enough evidence. Hell, motherfuckers who barricaded the door to save their lives is now saying, it was just a tour that day. Who was that guy? They said he actually barricaded the door.
Andrew Clyde.
There we go.
Because I know, because I made a couple memes of him. My favorite one is Andrew Clyde greeting his tourists, standing behind a gun and screaming in terror.
Yeah,
please send me those memes.
Huh?
Please send them to me.
And for the most part, I agree with it, but I'm still like, my mind still says, we need a commission that's actually going to do something and not just be like, okay, we're going to issue this 1,000-page report that nobody's ever going to read.
Right.
I see where you're going, but I'm like, no, we still need it.
They need somebody from the Justice Department. You get somebody that's a lifer, not somebody that was appointed, not an appointment, and you get like a few folks, You get together a 5 to 10 person team, they investigate, and they are empowered with the ability to indict. And that's what they need. And that's what needs to happen. So any fuckery that they find, there needs to be retribution right there where you're indicted. And now you got to prove your innocence. And here's all the evidence I done came up with. That would end everything today. There needs to be no commission, because it's literally going to be a report, like you said, that gets buried in the weeds and nobody talks about it. How many people are talking about the 9/11? Because a lot of people fell that day. I don't know if I believe the inside job conspiracy, but I do believe inaction went down. I do believe that Bush sneaked bin Laden's family out of the country because his palms were greased by, their very rich oil-driven money. So there was some accountability to be had, and it's never come from that report. All we did was put a whole bunch of brown people in Guantanamo to live for the rest of their days with no evidence.
Exactly. Well, that's true too. But you know what's happening on not to totally change the subject, but to totally change the subject. Y'all know what's happening August the 4th, right?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
getting a surgery so I can be skinny.
Trump is going to be reinstated as president.
Who is? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I'm like, fool, if you don't get your face off of my TV.
I guarantee you it's some QAnons and some MAGAs that's like, yep, it's going to happen August 4th.
If I thought that Fox News was terrible, OAN, they got Fox beat Fox. I mean, I'm like, what?
Well, now they're saying he wants to run for Congress so he can become Speaker of the House so he can impeach Biden. Yeah. So, sir, you can't be president and Speaker of the House. No, you could be Speaker of the House that eventually attains the presidency.
So he wants to run for, I saw this. So he's going to run for, because you can't run for both at the same time. So he runs as, who's going to elect him?
A lot of people. If he runs for Congress in Florida, he will be Congressman Trump. I guarantee you. But for the motherfucking election, he will be Congressman Trump. It's going to be a matter of time.
Well, but he's making it seem like everybody would vote for. What if the Democrats?
Florida. I have one word for you, Florida.
Okay. Maybe he could win the election in Florida. Okay, maybe. But what happens if the Democrats still keep the speaker position? He's not going to be.
You don't think he has all them Congress people shook?
I got news for you. If and when Biden doesn't deliver, we will lose the House and or the Senate in 22. We will lose it. If Biden would grow a set and push these policies through, the people will be so happy. We will win more seats in both.
But what does Trump have to do? First of all, he's going to take a downgrade. He used to be president of the United States. Now he's going to just be a congressperson. Like that's a shift that I don't think he's prepared to make. So
Trump wants attention. He just had to shut down his website due to low traffic. He wants attention. So if he has to take a downgrade just so he can be back in the public eye, you don't think he'll do that in a heartbeat?
Don't forget, he's delusional. The man is delusional.
No, he very much so.
I think he's banking on being reinstated in August. I don't
think he is. I think that's another lie he tells his people, and they believe everything he says. He can literally say it's raining cats and dogs, and they'll be like, y'all go out there with some leashes and bring home some animals, because they believe everything he says. So
I just can't see him running for Congress, because I'm like, you used to be president of the United States.
Yeah, a sane person, but Trump, we all know Trump ain't there. We know he's gone mentally, and he was his own fake publicist to keep his name in the magazines. So you don't think he'll take a downgrade? Come on. Trump will do anything for attention.
I think that ego of his is so enormous that I don't think he could take that type of a downgrade.
But this is exactly why he would run. Now, okay, so two parts, right? So one, he would absolutely run just because he lost that one time, and he's got to wipe that. So by him winning Congress, it was the best win ever in all the wins of Congress. So he will puff that out to be a million times more. However, I think you're kind of right that it's not the office he wants, and he wants to run again in 24.
Yeah, he wants to win in 24. So he somehow wins in 22. Here comes the presidency. He's not going to take it. I just can't.
But what stops him from running in 22 and then back in 24. What did he do for his whole 4 years? He was on the campaign trail for 4 years, still doing rallies. So what stopped him from doing both?
I just can't see him taking that ego hit. And I think this is wrong.
I'm trying to figure out what seat would be available. He's got, how many Congress people are usually per state? Is there like 4?
No, Congress is always proportional to how many electoral votes you have.
Oh.
Like Indiana has 11 Congress people.
God damn. I have one Congress person.
You have one. You have
who doesn't have a vote, right?
Who doesn't have a vote.
Yes.
And
yes.
California has 52. Texas has 32.
Congress people?
Every state.
Yeah. I guess that's why there's like 400 and a million of them.
There's 435.
435.
Yeah, 435 total. How many? Florida has like 22. So there's 20.
I guess per district, right?
No,
I had no idea. I thought it was like 4 Congress people per state or something. I don't know where my 4
each state,
per state.
Each district has a representative.
Oh, that's probably good to know if I wanted to run for Congress one day. Yeah. Probably should know how many each state gets.
Yes.
But now I'm in a state with no representation, so I guess I don't have to know just yet. Unless they ever give a statehood, which I doubt.
That's still unbelievable. That's still unbelievable.
Yeah, that's
more people than what? Two other states, and you have no representation.
And then one heifer, I don't even know who it was, but one heifer said, we can't be a state because we don't have a car dealership.
Yeah.
Why are you allowed to breathe?
We have plenty of car dealerships in DC.
Nope, we don't. But that should not be the reason. DC's like this big. It takes 15 minutes. Technically, it would take 15 minutes to get from Virginia, Maryland, DC. However, we have such bad traffic, it takes like 2 hours to get anywhere.
You do have one negative though. What percentage of DC is what percentage of DC is black?
It's like 85%. They call us Chocolate City.
There you go. There's your negative.
So that's why the big fight. I'm sure. I'm sure if we were like 95% or 85% white, and red state, it'd be.
And Joe Manchin was against it.
Because Joe Manchin don't like black people. I'm gonna get my Kanye West George Bush on.
Does he know that West Virginia used to be a part of Virginia, or did he forget that?
Well, West Virginia apparently was the good one, right? Because they seceded from Virginia because Virginia wanted to maintain slaves. He probably forgot that part. Maybe he was born right over the line.
North and South Dakota.
Probably the same with North and South Carolina, right? But North Carolina can be just as racist as South Carolina, so I don't think they got the memo.
So, Alicia, this is for you. So each state sends 2 senators to represent their state in the U.S. Senate.
That one I knew.
In the House of Representatives, a state's representation is based on the population. For example, Vermont and Delaware have 1 representative, but California has 53.
God. And I can't get more than 1 without a vote? It's hurtful. What, Mickey, do you remember off the top of your head what state is smaller than mine that does have statehood?
Wyoming.
How many Congress people do they have in Wyoming, Tracy?
Wait a minute, I'm going to find out.
Okay. Because I'm just about to hit the roof. Even though Eleanor Holmes Norton, with her non-voting ass, is very feckless. It is time for her to go, because I remember when my last job invited me to leave, and I tried to come to her as a vet because they invited me to leave. Let me tell you why these motherfuckers invited me to leave. They invited me to leave because invited me to leave is what I like to say.
Okay.
And it's because my boss, who was an asshole, fired me because I was taking too much time off. Mind you, I was fresh out of the military with severe back problems, and every day off, I cleared it with him, so I would probably take off 1 day a week for like a year, but they were trying to regulate my medicines, figure it out. I was hired on as a disabled vet, and he fired me on the week before my 1-year probation was up, so he wouldn't have to keep me on, and cited that I was absent too much, even though every single one of my leaves he signed. So I went to Eleanor Holmes Norton. Hey, I'm a disabled vet. this motherfucker just fired me for X, Y, and Z. They told me to fill out a form, and I sent it in, and they basically told me to call the VA because there wasn't anything they could do for me. So, bitch, with your non-voting ass, I couldn't even get you to go stand for me as a vet who represented DC for probably about 18 out of my 20-year career.
Yeah. Okay, I just looked this up. Fewer residents of DC include Wyoming and Vermont.
Yep.
And every district in the states of Rhode Island, West Virginia, Nebraska, New Hampshire, and Maine.
And Delaware. Don't forget Delaware has one.
Well, I know they got Chris Coons' punk, but
yeah, this is the site I'm looking at gives every state how many. Vermont has 1 seat, Wyoming has 1 seat.
Congress
people.
Okay.
But every state gets 2 senators.
So we don't even have a senator. We have a senator at large or something like that. Because in case we ever get statehood, he'd be, well, I think this person is a he, but he or she would be put into place as our senator. But it's a non-paid position. It's just basically a figurehead until we actually got statehood, which will never happen. I mean, our license plate says taxation without representation. So.
I said, yes,
oh my God.
Wait a minute, I misspoke. Indiana has 9 Congress people, not 11.
That's still 8 more than I have. But Indiana's bigger than DC, so we'll give y'all that. I think, I mean, they call us the district. We don't have districts. We're called the district. So
yeah, but our population is shrinking.
Well, that's because, especially, okay, so downtown Indianapolis, Mickey, is phenomenal, okay? Like, their architecture's nice, the buildings are all nice, and just beautiful shapes and colors. You go, like, maybe a couple of streets over, like, anywhere you go where your downtown's really great, it's gutted. So you guys are shrinking, Tracy, because there's no opportunity because they, corporations buying up everything, making everything nice and pretty. And then a couple of streets over where there used to be a warehouse or some type of manufacturing or whatever, gutted out. It looks like a motherfucking shootout happened. So everywhere. That's where your folks are leaving. Say it again.
I said everywhere in the city.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's really the Midwest period. Because where it used to be booming, we've outsourced all of our stuff, so much so that in the middle of a pandemic, we didn't have masks, the little transistors that keep our cars moving, we didn't have those because we outsourced everything to the point where we don't have anything left. And it's like, whose brainchild was that? Because at some point, I know there had to be some type of, I don't want to say contingency plan, but they have to act out these scenarios. Like Barack and them said they had several pandemic responses. So if shit was to all come to a screeching halt like it did, that should have been planned for, to know that maybe we shouldn't outsource every freaking thing so we're just dead on arrival when we have to shut our country down.
Well, their excuse, or the Biden excuse, is Trump got rid of everything.
That's not true.
I mean, no, it's not true, but that's their excuse. I'm like, okay, but you're president now. That stuff.
As much as I can't stand Trump, he maintained the status quo, but a lot of that driving force was the Obama years. A lot of the outsourcing. I think, didn't they come up with TPP on Obama's watch?
Yes, it did. And nobody remembers that.
Because that was the almighty Obama.
Well, I had a Facebook friend that said something positive about Kamala Harris. I'm like, dude, what are you smoking now? What are you on that makes you say, well, she's more progressive? No, she's not. If she's progressive, that makes me conservative. Because that I'm like, no.
Actually, that wouldn't make you conservative. That would push you so far off.
It would make you a communist. You'd be a communist.
That made me opposite of what I actually am.
Oh, well, okay. We can go with that. I thought we were just sliding ourselves. But,
no.
Well, I don't know. Reports said that she was the most progressive voting senator in the Senate. So, you sure about that, Tracy?
All I know is under her attorney general time, more Black people got jailed than necessary.
And we somehow conveniently forgot that Amy Klobuchar locked up that Black man for a crime he didn't commit and basically threw the evidence out the window.
If I ever see her face, she got on my nerves in the presidential debates talking about
that little shaky voice.
She kept talking about how she was from the Midwest. Like, girl, if you don't shut up, talk about you from the Midwest.
Isn't she the one who announced in the middle of a blizzard?
That snowstorm one, and her hair was better than
Yes.
Trump. Did you see when they put it on all the TVs because she said it so many times? It was like 100 screens of her all saying the same joke. Man, that was fun. I don't remember who did that, but it was so
what did
funny.
she do? I must have missed that one.
So Donald Trump had said something about her doing it in the snow. You could go ahead, Mickey. This is your story.
No, just she was on the stage announcing that she was going to run. And it was in the middle of a blizzard, snowing like hell. And she used that 5 million times during her short run.
Because Trump had said something about her in the snow, like her hair was going to blow away. And she was like, and I told Trump, at least I have hair to blow away. And then she told that joke over and over and over.
Why?
I have to find it. I know it's probably just a YouTube search where they show all the times. It was on Mad TVs. It was crazy.
I could say something about her, but I'm trying to keep it positive.
Well, she's also the prosecutor that refused to hold Chauvin accountable. I think the last time he murdered someone. Trust and believe George Floyd was not his first murder. And she refused to hold him accountable. So he went on to get way more complaints, and he went on to murder George Floyd. So
and let's not forget that Harris refused to prosecute Mnuchin for his
yes.
for his
that's what I said when you said she's
his fraud during the bank fail. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You said she's the most progressive. I'm like, well, we got to be using a low bar because
that wasn't my spiel. I don't know if that was the opposition when she was running. I don't know if maybe she was at this point selected as his vice president, but either they said it on one of the MSMs, the liberal MSMs, or if Fox was doing it as opposition, but they had the nerve to call her the most progressive person in the Senate. And I'm like, I
was done
with the progressive who also refused to prosecute priests in the Catholic Church who were proven to be sexual predators.
Yep, that's why I was like, y'all serious with this today? Well, she went to a black university
and made felons stay longer in jail so they could use $2 an hour labor so they could fight fires in the wildfires in California, and also did some fuckery with some guy's evidence that would have cleared him for a murder.
Yep.
And allegedly
and wanted to prosecute black mothers if their kids were truant.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that part.
And laughed about it later, as well as laughing about smoking marijuana.
Yeah, what was funny about that? And her laugh irks me. I'm just gonna say that just so I can say it. Her laugh irks me.
Fake. Because it's fake. That's why it irks you, because it's not real. That's the fakest laugh I've ever heard in my life. Hers and Hillary's.
Hillary doesn't have a laugh. She has more like a
cackle.
That's
perfect.
More of a cackler.
Perfect.
Right? I can't stand her. And you know what? I think I get more mad at them when I realize how they bamboozled me. So, like, I can't stand Hillary. I can't stand Barack Obama. Like, I still want to love Michelle because even though she said that mess that she said about us not supporting her husband, I think she went through a lot and she didn't ask to be a part of it. And through all the fire, she was very graceful under pressure. So I still want to like her because really she didn't have any policy. So nothing she did hurt me. Right. Nothing hurt me, So I still want to like her. And I still like Jill Biden, right? Joe Biden, all of them. I can't stand them. And then, so I don't know if I told y'all, I work for this. I used to volunteer for this thing called TAPS, and it's what we volunteer with the children of fallen soldiers, right? So the first year I did it, Joe Biden, of all people, comes to the TAPS to tell us about his experience of losing a child. And because I don't know if this was after Bo died, or maybe he was just talking about that. This might have been before Bo died, but this was talking about his family that he lost in a car accident, right? And so he takes a picture with me, kisses me on the cheek. I think he's the best thing since sliced bread. My sister still has that picture and threatens to post it. And I'm like, please, let's go take all my street cred away, you know? And so I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. So imagine my surprise when, mind y'all, even when he got, you know, they were telling him to run instead of Hillary. I was like, yes, please run. So even in 2016, I didn't know the fuckery. I didn't know how shitty Joe Biden was until the 2020 election, when all the dirt started coming out. The racism, the rape allegations, the sexual harassment allegations,
A lifetime of pathological lying and plagiarism.
Absolutely, I had no clue.
Did you know, you talked about the car accident that killed his wife and daughter. Did you know that when it happened, that wasn't horrible enough to get him enough sympathy?
Right.
He got on the public stage and made inferences that the truck driver had stopped for too many drinks for lunch, even though there's no record of the truck driver drinking or having alcohol in the system, even though the investigators found that his wife, they don't know why, but she swerved in front of his truck.
Right.
So when he started doing that, the daughter of the truck driver begged him, please stop saying that. My father feels bad enough over these deaths. Oh, wait a minute. He feels bad enough over these deaths. Please stop saying that. So Biden stopped. Earlier last year, when he started running again, he started saying it again.
No, duh.
And the daughter threatened a lawsuit, and he stopped.
What's
now,
the
to me, is there anything? Why do you have to add to losing your family members in a car accident? That's horrific enough. But to add to it so people feel more sorry for you, to be asked to stop and then stopping and then years later say it again.
Right.
I'm sorry,
like
but that
illogical.
His total lack of humor. People say he's a compassionate man.
Yeah, where?
Where? I keep saying where? Well, you guys don't know.
To me, that's horrendous. That is absolutely horrendous.
That's literally, you're using the death of your family and your children to score political points. That's some Trump level shit. That's some Trump level shit.
That's beyond Trump.
Nah, ain't nothing beyond Trump.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Trump would sell Ivana, not Ivanka, the daughter, the one he loves.
Wait a minute.
Sell her down the river.
You're leaving out a letter. It's Iskanka. That's what I've called her for a long time. I never said I was nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
You remember when the mainstream media painted her and Jared as the liberals and they were going to keep Trump on track? I hate our news. Oh my.
That's what they did. My least favorite, well, not my least favorite black person. I hate to say that term, but Van Johnson.
Jones.
Van Jones.
That's another house Negro. I'm like,
I don't know what his deal is. Remember when he started crying when Biden won the election?
No, when he said Trump was a real president when he gave that one. I'm like, what?
Yes, because Trump begrudgingly signed the First Step Act, and then maybe about 6 months later, when Biden won, fucking fake ass Van Jones was like, now my sons can walk outside without being. And I'm just like, bitch, 6 months ago, Trump was the next coming.
I would have rolled out laughing if I had saw that.
He's so funny, but thank God for real smart people, because they dragged him for the filth. People weren't falling for that shit. They were like, "You're full of shit, Van." 6 months ago, it was a whole different story. They were teasing him.
Trump's response to something, his fake prison reform bill.
The First Step Back.
Did you guys watch? I know you guys didn't, but did you watch any of the Republican convention?
No. Did they air him?
No. Of course, he's mainstream. But it was one person that I kept saying, why don't they have her speak instead of the rest of these nitwits? It was the black lady that Kim Kardashian and all them had gotten freed. Her. I was like, this is the best speaker.
Oh, Alice Johnson.
Yes, I'm like, this, like, put her out there. Put her out there. Don't y'all say nothing. Just let her do all the talking. Right. Let her do everything. She had me captivated. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, she's been through some things, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of people are like, you know, it's not okay to sell drugs, especially the drugs that can kill you. But let's be real. That is almost a victimless crime. Nobody's forcing you. I'm not putting a gun in your head and saying, take this crack, take this heroin, take these opioids, unless I'm Big Pharma. And apparently Big Pharma doesn't go to jail for what.
Yeah, they can kill anybody they want to.
Right. So that's a victimless crime as far as I'm concerned, because I'm not putting the gun in your hand. Well, I guess I am putting the gun in your hand, but I'm not telling you to pick up the gun. You know, I can either buy from you or I can't. And at the end of the day, yes, addiction is very strong. It is very powerful. And I'm not victim blaming. But at the same time, at some point, I know that I've gotten too far and I need help. So for me to continue, that is my choice. Right. So do people have to go to jail for the rest of their lives? Fuck no. Because the simple fact
I believe every non-violent drug offender should be released.
Yeah, they
should be given counseling, a job opportunity, and a home opportunity, or an apartment. However, the money that we're paying private prisons to keep these people in there would more than pay for the help for these people.
Exactly.
And many of them would then be able to contribute to society.
All I knew was after hearing her talk, I was like, they don't need to even have Trump campaign. Just put her out there. You'll get more people to vote for you. Because I was like, okay, this lady is something.
Right.
And I found myself listening. Like, wait a minute. Mm-mm. I was like, well, I never thought of it like that. So I thought, put her on there.
I'm addicted to smoking. I've been smoking since I was 16. I've tried every method out there to quit over the years and haven't been able to. And that's, what happens when it's heroin, when it's cocaine, when, it's just as bad.
Right.
At least I'm only hurting myself.
Right.
But Purdue Pharmacy got away with producing Oxycontin, which is a way more addictive drug than anything.
Well, what's that family's name that really?
The Purdue family. I thought that's
no. Oh, I can't remember their name. And they're pretty bad. It's not the Purdue. They're not Purdue. It's something else. I'm gonna think about it when we're off. Anyway, but right along with what you're saying, that they're literally drug dealers, but because they wear suit and ties and they come from money, then it's okay. Like, it's just like when Wall Street robs America blind and, the taxpayer has to, bail them out and bail out, whatever. Okay. Nobody's held accountable.
It's Purdue.
Oh, it is Purdue. Okay.
They filed for bankruptcy a few days after reaching a settlement.
Yeah.
Here's hoping that judge declined that.
I don't doesn't say anything further.
It's probably still in litigation.
I remember.
Oh, they pled guilty to an $8 billion settlement.
And they filed bankruptcy after they reached the agreement.
Yeah, but does bankruptcy protect you from settlements?
I don't know. I don't know.
Because your boy Biden made sure that it didn't protect you from student loan debt. Fucking Biden.
Yep.
Who voted for him? Yep. Look, who voted for him?
You did, because I showed it.
Not me. Not me.
Yeah, not me.
I wasted my vote. I voted third party.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh well.
Listen, I feel like I was trapped, and I had no options. And so basically I was forced into voting for Biden. But I was forced.
You know what I think is, if Bernie had won the nomination in my dream world, what would a Bernie presidency be like?
Opposition. Nothing but opposition. I think what they did to Obama would pale in comparison.
Democrats would just destroy it. He wouldn't get anything. I don't think he'd have any success in getting any of the things that he wants passed. Now, anything he could do without them, he would do it. Definitely canceling.
I think though the people react to Bernie, and Bernie puts his voice out there. And when I think it was, he was president, he was getting blocked by both sides of the aisle. He would be out there on the Senate floor, with screaming. You've seen him on the Senate floor,
Yeah.
screaming, and with the people behind him, him telling them, "Write your legislators." People would do it.
Especially with stuff that he wanted to pass. Like he's calling them out now. And I really like that. He was calling out the Republicans for their opposition and the Democrats for their, not doing anything. And so
Is he
I
calling
think he
names
would.
out or theories?
I think he's just talking about parties. But
Yes.
it's clear though, like I don't know, like do we not think Coons, what's the other guy? Warner, Cinema, of course. What's the other guy? Manchin, of course.
Manson,
But
Manson.
you also have the motherfuckers that smile in your face. What's that one lady's name? What's the one that
Susan
Joni-
Collins?
is Joni Ernst ours?
Nope.
Or is she a Republican?
Republican.
Oh, well, it's a few of them. But so like you kind of know who your corporate Dems are. Well, let's be real. We've got Ed Markey and Bernie. Who else we got in the Senate?
No.
We don't have Cory Booker. We don't have Elizabeth. Well, we may have a little bit of Elizabeth.
She's trying to come back, but
Yeah,
she got a whole lot to come back. I'm like, girl, you ruined it. When you said Bernie told you
Showed
not
her
to
true
run,
colors.
girl, bye.
I'm leaning more
She
towards.
does have some good policy ideas.
She
You know,
did.
I have
She
I
did.
I have some hate for her, but
Do you
she's
think
still
she
trying
has them?
on some.
Do you still think she still has them?
I
Like I
think
think
so.
she's abandoned
Especially,
everything.
I think financially, she's still going after them.
Hmm. Well, maybe I need to watch some more Senate committee hearings because she seems like I heard she wrote a book. Like I haven't really heard her do anything, and it's like I don't even remember hearing her come for what was that heifer's name that tried to do OMB and they shut her down. I didn't care who did it, how they did it. What's her name? The one with all the mouth that was dragging Bernie. They was trying to give her OMB director.
Neera Tanden. Neera
Tanden. I didn't hear Elizabeth Warren say a word, and that's her wheelhouse.
Even the progressives were for her. The progressives were backing her.
Support her. I was like, huh, what?
Justice Dems came out.
Yeah, Justice Dems.
If I wasn't already through with them, I'm done with them now. They don't get my little donation no more. They get nothing.
I was about to give them a donation. I said, nope, I'll just give it to Nina's campaign.
I could not believe. I was actually angry at Jank because he said the only reason. Yeah, well, what he said was you shouldn't put her down because she said nasty things about you, referring to the Republicans. I'm sorry, that's not what we objected to.
Mm-hmm. Nope, we sure didn't. Mm-hmm. And her background should say that people like her need her. It's like she got her to where she got to, and then said, "Okay, I got mine."
Close the door behind her. And
that's whole libertarian party to me. It's like I got mine.
Plus, she headed the what was that organization?
It was a think tank.
Yeah.
We know what
she headed that right till the end.
Yep. And so basically this was an IOU. Like, you don't think they put mad money into Biden's campaign? They appointed Neera as an IOU. Washington is a club,
After she was turned down, well, she quit.
Center for American Progress.
Thank you. He gives her an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
What did he appoint her to?
Some senior position.
Wait a minute. So she resigns because Manchin said he couldn't support her.
Well, backs out.
And he's.
Okay. But you know what? And in that moment, I didn't give a damn what Manchin's reasons were. It probably was because he heard his daughter's feeling.
You did something right, yes.
Yeah, finally. And that's only because he had an axe to grind, but I didn't care. And I love that. Oh, you know what was the deal breaker for her? The one from Alaska.
She's Biden's senior advisor.
And Rahm Emanuel.
They gave him an ambassadorship, I think, to China. Yeah.
Mm.
So all the great people are getting, just desserts, and I don't
Well, we
understand it.
knew that before, when he got the nominate, when he was given the nomination, we were
Mm-hmm.
all saying, it's going to be all lobbyists, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be Wall Streeters, it's going to be old school, and that's what
It's a
he did.
revolving door. It's a revolving door. And that is one of the good things about Elizabeth Warren. She's trying to keep it to where lobbyists cannot switch. Like you can't be Congress this year and then now you're a lobbyist back to
Yeah.
Congress or whatever. So I like that. And that is a good thing because
She
what
got a
team are you
whole
on?
long way to come before. I may forget, but I don't forget. And I won't forget that she said that Bernie told her not to. She gonna have to do a whole lot more, a whole lot more. I'm like,
So it was that, and then just the fact that her ass would not get out that race.
She was
She makes me
supposed to stay in the
so
race
sick.
because she thought she was gonna be vice president.
Mm.
They told her to stay in the race. She did, and then she got janked. I'm like, oh, look at me cry. Oh,
She probably wasn't going to get VP if Bernie won, but she damn sure would have got Janet Yellen's position. Something in money. She may have got OMB. She would have had a very high position in that cabinet.
I don't think that Bernie would be stupid enough to deplete the Senate because I don't think that's a good idea.
To do what?
To deplete the Senate. You remember how Obama kept getting senators and everybody's like, why are you doing that?
Mm.
Like
I know Bernie's governor said, thank you, said he was definitely going to replace, even though his governor was a Republican, replace him with a Democrat. Elizabeth Warren's governor, who is a Republican, was not promising that.
Yeah, so he wasn't promising that. I was like, he wasn't gonna give her no cap. And I had to back off of the some of the crazy people in the People's Party when Biden first got elected. Oh, well, Bernie should be Secretary of Treasury. I'm like, no, don't take Bernie. Don't take him out of the Senate. Do not take him out of the Senate.
I agree.
He'd be more beneficial if he's. Could you imagine him in a cabinet position? He would have to agree with stupid stuff that Biden.
And they'd shut him down. They'd shut him down. Anything he ever tried to achieve as a, head of whatever, they would have shut him down. He would never get it. He's better where in the Senate. But speaking of that, former Transportation Secretary Tom Perez, now a lobbyist from some big firm that wants to shut down unions, known for union busting. He is.
Wasn't he the head of the Democratic Party?
Say it again.
Tom Perez. Wasn't he head of the
DNC? He used to be the DNC.
He headed the DNC.
Okay.
And so now he is a lobbyist for that firm and thinking of running for governor of Maryland. When I tell you I'm going to do everything in my power to stop a Tom Perez run.
Girl, move to Maryland. Move to Maryland now.
I literally live right across the state line. So I will go and advocate, do whatever, round up support for whoever his competition is. He will never get a job. And then I think Kim just told me, well, she's a prosecutor out there, Marilyn Mosby. She's also thinking about a run for governor. And she's one of those people like Kamala that believes in persecuting the Black folks and slapping the wrists of white folks.
She was a senator when I was a kid.
Well, I think she's a DA out here. And maybe.
Why don't they go back and get some people from the clique? Oh my gosh. I cannot.
What's in the place right now isn't much better. Larry Hogan's pretty shitty. So I just know Tom Perez will not get that job if I have anything to say about it. I'm telling all his business.
Why is Val Demings considering running for governor in Florida? She's not gonna win.
She may.
No, she
won't. The government. Oh yeah, DeSantis is very popular, huh?
DeSantis is extremely popular. I mean, shouldn't be, but he is. I'm like, girl, don't do that. No. Run for senator against Marco Rubio or whatever his name is. Run against him.
That's what she was doing. I thought it was against Marco Rubio. What's the governor?
She wants to run for governor. She wants
because that's a direct line to presidency. Val will never be anybody's president.
No,
it's not in the cards for you.
Of Florida.
I know. Governor is literally the next line for presidency. You run for governor, you do a couple of terms,
she doesn't want to be
go run for office. Bet me cash money. You don't see Val Demings running in 8 years. Cash money. Governor is a direct slot to the presidency. Look at all our former presidents, except for the dumbass that doesn't exist.
Because Obama was a senator, Biden was a senator.
Bush, Clinton.
Trump was Trump was just Trump. Clinton was a governor. W. Bush was a governor.
Reagan.
Reagan was a governor. Oh yeah, Jimmy Carter was a governor.
I rest my case,
But
Your Honor.
not all of them because, like I said, Obama was.
Anytime somebody runs for governor, you know that next line of sight, it's going to be the presidency. Look at all the governors that ran in 2020. There was mad governors. Bullock, shoot, I'm drawing a blank, but it was hella governors.
Hippenlooper, my least favorite.
Oh yeah, isn't he a senator now?
Yes.
Ew. And you know, Beto's trying to run for governor of Texas.
Why doesn't he just make up his mind what he wants to do?
They wax so poetically about Beto O'Rourke, and I want to throw up. Like, why don't we all know that Beto ain't S-H-I-T?
Girl,
he ain't shit.
Yeah, I'm like, what has he actually done?
Skate on a skateboard and curse when bad things happen. That makes him cool and edgy.
Well, I mean, I was arguing with people that Biden threatening to beat up people at his rallies. That makes him strong and he's a leader. Really? And Trump did the exact same thing. You would be complaining about it.
Or let Bernie raise his voice, not even threaten anyone. Raise his voice. Why is he yelling? Feels like he's yelling at me. He makes me want to throw up. That's what that dumb heifer said on MSNBC. I haven't watched her ever since.
Oh, right. He makes her nauseous. No reason, just he makes her nauseous.
Mimi Roca. And I think she tried to run for something and that shit got shut down. I do kind of like Maya Wiley for New York City mayor though. I kind of like her.
She another Joe Biden butt kisser. I'm like, girl.
No, she used to work for, what was the current mayor? What was his name? The one that everybody hates, but he actually is a pretty progressive.
De Blasio.
De Blasio. She used to work for him. She ended up quitting because he wouldn't take a firm stance against the cops. But she instituted a lot of pretty progressive policies that affected communities of color and women.
You haven't watched her on MSNBC. I'm like, girl.
I think they usually go to her for legal analysis.
Butt kisser, in my opinion. I'm not saying it. Butt kisser.
Well, she's better than fucking Yang or that dumbass they got running around that's telling people that people can hide their guns and their pictures and their kids' teddy bears. And he's a former cop and he's trying to run for mayor.
Have you seen that video?
It's pretty terrible.
Demonstration. Let me tell you something.
Terrible.
I haven't laughed so hard. I'm like, this isn't funny, and I shouldn't laugh. But I'm like, okay, let me stop. Let me stop this because I'm laughing and I know I shouldn't be. That is the funniest thing. He's like, and they can hide it in their teddy bear. And he goes,
that's a really good idea. Did you see the story this past week of the asshole the responsible gun owner who hid his gun in the sofa cushions? His 3-year-old son found it and shot his 2-year-old daughter.
Oh, God. Did the baby live?
I haven't seen anything on it.
Oh,
but everybody needs their guns because the Second Amendment.
Hid it in the sofa cushions with 2 toddlers in the house.
Yeah,
you are supposed to not even have the bullets near the gun if you have children in the house.
And a lockbox. Like, where's your lockbox, fam?
In the sofa cushions.
And sofa cushions.
Why was that a good idea?
Hide it in your kid's teddy bear because no way the kid would go looking for a teddy bear.
Yeah, they never go to the teddy bear to look for him. No.
Well, at least his mindset was your kid could be hiding their gun in their teddy bear.
His was
so you need to check the teddy bear.
Okay, well that kind of makes sense because
it doesn't. My children have never hid anything in a teddy bear ever.
That's like people hiding their jewelry in the freezer. Well, that's the first place that robbers look at.
First place I'm gonna look. It's the first place I'm gonna look.
Yeah,
okay. It was on the 22nd. She's still in critical condition.
Oh baby.
2 years old. Shot
Did they arrest the dad?
Brother.
Did they arrest the dad?
No.
That I don't know.
If he's white, he's not in jail. Let's just be real.
Well, he's negligent. So, but I don't know. I think his worst punishment is his one child shooting his other. There's nothing the law can do to you that you're not going to do to yourself.
Let me put this. We've talked about gun safety on this show before. I still don't understand. You have 2 arms, 2 hands. Why do you need 18 guns? For what? What is it that you're doing? But you'll get
That's exactly right.
like Matt Gaetz talk about, oh, the founding fathers wanted to protect against the militia. I'm like, boy, if you don't shut up with your going to prison self, why don't you
I'm all for gun safety. I'm all for, being better about these laws. However, I'm not so much for the complete and total lockdown or even, getting too stringent, because the simple fact is this will not be applied evenly across the board. The first people they're coming for are Black people.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think before we get some common sense gun laws, we need to get some common sense equity in our country, because look at what they did to Philando Castile. Look what they did to that poor guy.
He was able to legally carry his gun.
Look what they did to that poor guy in the Walmart who was literally, it was a BB gun, but it was an open carry state, and they just go in there and shoot him and kill him. So my fear is gun control will result in more Black death. So I don't say no gun control. I definitely believe in the databases connecting. Like, if your ass is marked as fucking crazy, I should be able to see that in the FBI background database. All those should be married to each other. If you did some foul shit while you were in the military, that needs to be in a central database. You don't get a weapon in the first place.
Up at a KKK.
Well, did you see the post I made this past week? Black man, a burglar, starting to break into his place of business. So the Black man, a white burglar, Black man shot him. Black man is now charged with murder.
Because what? Like, didn't the license on his place go out or something like that? When it's something like that, like because
it's a stand your ground state.
Yep, we don't apply.
Just like with Breonna Taylor's partner, stand your ground doesn't count when you're Black.
Exactly. The lady,
somebody's breaking in,
right?
You shoot, you're guilty.
The lady whose husband was whooping her ass, she had a separation decree, and he comes to the house to whoop her ass some more. She shoots up in the sky. They tried to give her 20 fucking years.
How many did she end up getting after everybody made it?
I think she was in for like a year or two, and jury overturned the verdict. But initially on, they gave her 20 years in Florida, stand your ground state.
Because she's
no doubt, absolutely.
But you have idiot prosecutors that clearly the Black person was innocent, and they get these idiot cam people, and I'm gonna call them Cammy, that lose cases on purpose. And that's why I'm like, you know what?
Or don't present the evidence at all. He ain't even lose the case. He was like, fuck this case. We ain't gonna have no case.
I'm losing it on purpose. I'm gonna do everything that I can to make sure these white cops get off. Everything.
There was a reverend in Virginia, some dope fiends or whatever, white, came and were stealing stuff off of his property. So he came, asked them to, put his shit down and leave. Of course, they started to threaten him. He takes out his gun and calls the police. The police arrested him and let the crackheads go after they stole his stuff.
And I guess the guy who called the police was Black and the crackheads were white. Yeah, I don't know how I guessed that one.
It's just the American way.
The greatest.
And what gets me is the people who deny the systemic racism in this country.
But it doesn't exist, says Tim Scott and Kamala Harris.
And that's the crazy thing, because if they can put a Black face in front of that ignorant shit, that justifies it. Because it's one thing if a white person says it, right? But it further fuels the fire when Black people, or at least Black in skin only, go out and say, oh, no, there's no racism. No, you just got bad apples. Well, goddamn, how many bad apples we got?
I saw a newspaper headline quite a while ago, probably a year ago or more, and there was 1/3 on one story, 2/3 on another. The 1/3 was about a white man who murdered someone. 2/3 was about a young Black man or boy who stole something out of a car. This was 2/3 of the page. The white guy who murdered someone got 1/3 of the page. How can anyone not see that?
Because they're getting paid money not to see it.
No, your average person is not, though. It's because we've been brainwashed in this country
I
to
think
think black is bad and white is right.
I think the average black person knows there's racism in this
Of
country.
course. I think Mickey means more like the mainstream, you know,
think
because
the mainstream? Oh no, they're clueless because you got to pull your own self up by the bootstraps, and you don't have
Yeah,
to.
but that young man I told you about that I was in the discussion with my black friend, male, who's older. He's not as old as me, but he's older. The young black man kept insisting there is no racism in this country. He kept insisting, and Daryl kept telling him. He told him story after story what's happened in his life.
right.
And
It
the
didn't
person
get
who's
through to
saying
him.
no racism is black, and he's never been followed in the grocery store, never been followed at the department store, never been asked to show ID where everybody white gets to go hit him. Really? You
I think
can't.
it's apathy. I really do. I think it's apathy. And until that tragedy happens to others. And that's why I always, you know, I caveat with I never want this to happen. But it's going to take cops killing little white ladies and little white boys and these white people's children before something actually happens. It's gonna,
Well,
it
you know,
definitely isn't.
after
Go ahead.
that 73-year-old woman who weighed 80 pounds, white woman, who walked out of Walmart with $14 worth of merchandise, which the clerks got back before the cops got there.
$14, right?
Broke her arm, dislocated her shoulder, handcuffed her behind her back with a dislocated shoulder and a broken arm for almost 6 hours. I've had both shoulders replaced. I had medication. I had physical therapy. I had all that shit. And I can tell you it was painful as hell. I can't imagine how she didn't pass out from the pain.
Right.
Where were all the white people objecting to that? It's not. It's mostly blacks or people of color. You know, blacks, Mexicans, Latinos, but it's also the weaker people, poor people, even though they're white. A 73-year-old, 80-pound woman. I mean, that's my age. I certainly don't weigh 80 pounds, but that's, you know, how the hell can anybody justify that?
Because she's older. To some people, she doesn't matter. I mean, that's the kind of culture we live in. We idolize youth. We definitely do. We definitely do. And it's like we disregard, which is why I know some people say, you know, such and such, they're getting old, they should get out of Congress. But I'm like, sometimes wisdom can play a major role if you use it wisely.
I was about to say where, because we got Bernie.
Yeah, because I'm like, we got Bernie, but then you also have Dianne Feinstein. We know good and well she could be going.
The problem is, the ones when we complain about the older ones, is their mind is still in the 50s.
Right. They haven't evolved to like what's going on currently. And that scares me. But in general, our whole culture is actually, Lord forgive me, but the church culture really idolizes you. I'm like, okay, but we need to get more young people. Okay, I agree with that statement, but you can't just take you get this population, but you're going to just totally throw away another population. I think, like Felicia said, until you get your young white male injured or unfortunately murdered, that's when things are going to start changing. He can't be poor. He's going to have to be somewhat affluent for people to say, oh, this is a problem.
Look at opioids. Case in point. When it was crack, we were monsters and animals, and now that little white children are dying and ODing every other day, it's a pandemic, it's an epidemic, it's a crisis, and we need to get them counseling and help that they need. But us, they were willing to lock us up. Your president was willing to lock us up under the jail and think not twice about it.
Look at our laws.
Yep.
It's mandatory sentencing for first-time offense of crack and cocaine was 5 years.
Disgusting.
For crack, it was 5 grams. For cocaine, it was 500. Who uses which the most?
Exactly. Or who's rumored to use which the most?
Well,
don't forget the guys
Rich,
that,
look, they patrol in New York City. They patrol black neighborhoods all the
Mhm.
time.
Broken windows
Wall
theory.
Wall Street is known for cocaine. They
Snowing.
never patrol there.
Mm-hmm.
Never patrol there.
because they're paying their settlers. Let me shut up. But
Mhm.
that's just,
No, because it's rich white people on Wall
you know,
Street, and it's poorer black people in those neighborhoods.
Mhm. Mhm.
So of course they're going to find more people using crack, more black people when that's all they patrol.
and let's not
And then
forget,
Right.
they ignore where the rich white people are using cocaine.
and let's not
Exactly.
forget who brought those drugs in the country in the first place.
Yep. CIA.
But that's why Manuel Noriega was a well. See, I'm gonna get down a whole trot of the wonderful '80s. I don't want to even get down that road.
That's where in my opinion, although they were worse before him in other ways, Reagan started the downslide of both parties,
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
moving both further and further right to follow the money
Right.
with his Southern strategy. I mean,
Mhm.
he did so much damage in so many areas.
Well, Reagan was trash. I mean, can we just say,
Yes.
you have black people, you got to
Agreed.
sit there and tell them, oh, Ronald Reagan was a great president. What was great about him?
I honestly don't think I've ever heard a black person say that.
Oh, girl, you need to be in my family. Oh, I'm like, wait a minute. You're talking about the same Ronald Reagan that made up the story about the welfare queen.
Mm.
That Ronald
Mhm.
Reagan?
Mm.
Or the Ronald Reagan whose policies put decreased nonprofit funding?
Closed down mental institutions.
Now, I'm like, now which Reagan is it that you're talking about? Bad 1940 movies Ronald Reagan. I'm talking about President Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't forget Governor Reagan, who decided now he needs to have gun control because black folks wanted to
Black Panthers.
Second Amendment rights.
Black Panthers. Yeah, the Black
Exactly.
Panthers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But really, Nixon really was the one that started that whole Southern strategy. Nixon.
Actually, it was George McGovern.
Well, I'm talking about in terms of presidents.
Oh, I'm with you then.
Because Nixon, as smart as Nixon was, he was just extremely, extremely stupid. Like he was both smart and stupid at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You're recording conversations. Don't you think yours would be recorded too?
I don't know what. I mean, was he so far gone at that point? Because they said he was an alcoholic. So was he just so far gone at that point that he just didn't think these things out? Because just like you said,
Reagan is on tape talking about the Southern strategy.
Oh,
he's on
I think
tape.
He was making fun of black people for not wearing shoes. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
on tape.
Calling us monkeys and everything.
Think about what Richard Nixon was doing. He started it. Reagan perfected it.
Actually, no, that's not even true. What was that fucking governor that stood in front of the school with the guy with the gun? He ended up getting shot later. George Wallace. He started.
Well,
what a piece of garbage. I can remember.
That's a trash politician right there. That guy was trash until he changed his life. But look what had to happen to him.
I refuse to believe
I can remember seeing Wallace on television spewing hate. And he frightened me.
Do you think something like that could actually change you guys?
If I got
really think somebody has the power? Say what?
They said it changed them. Now I'm not one for.
I mean, it was like a bullet in the back, right? It wasn't like he was at a Klan rally and somebody prayed for his soul. Like he got shot for something totally unrelated, right?
I forget the circumstances of his shooting.
I know he got shot. Too. I don't know why he got shot. But I don't know. I don't think if you have that much hatred in your heart, just shy of, something monumental happening, maybe your white kid brings home a mixed baby and you have no choice but to love black people now. I don't fucking know, but it has to be something monumental because you literally was willing to put your life on the line just to keep black kids out of school with white kids. Because we all think Joe Biden changed his ways. Is that what we're thinking? Because I guarantee you, Joe Biden still just...
Wallace was shot 6 times while campaigning in 1972.
Did they ever catch
and he
did it?
Didn't see that, but he He was very high in the polls at the time.
Yeah, it sure was. I remember that because he was popular, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and how is George W. Bush now held as a hero? Yeah. The man that literally lied about weapons of mass. Y'all serious with that? Has Trump really made it that bad that we got to go?
Well, so many people have been, their records have been, expunged, so to speak. Look at Nicole Wallace. She is just revered in, the Democratic circles, and she was a part of that fuckery. David Frum, he used to write the speeches that justified the killing of Iraqis. Tucker Carlson called them animals. These people are considered high society.
Tucker Carlson isn't on MSNBC. He's on Fox.
Doesn't matter. He's still
held
to a high standard.
What I'm saying is Fox doesn't have a Democrat show. Like
Donna Brazile.
Who?
Donna Brazile. She's on the 5.
She did the truth about Hillary. She saved herself when she wrote that book telling the truth about Hillary.
Did she? Because she still passed Hillary the fucking debate questions ahead of time. She ain't shit. She was just trying to get some money. And what was the best way to get money? To talk shit about Hillary. Come on now. The country hated Hillary. That was like money in the bank. She's still shit.
By the way, the man who shot George Wallace got 35. He served 35 years and then was released.
Did he say why he did it?
No. Nothing about that.
Was it another white man?
It had to be. He got 35 years and got released.
Yeah, he would have. If he was black, he'd be dead before he hit the court.
Definitely, he'd have been gone.
True.
He wouldn't have had it last. But
speaking of death penalty, what's y'all's thoughts on it? I know you're all religious, Tracy, so you're probably against it. I don't know. I'm like up in the air on it. Like I feel like all the child molesters should be dead.
Arthur Bremer shot Governor Wallace to be famous.
Is that right?
Well, look,
I really don't.
The guy that shot Reagan shot him because he was in love with Jodie Foster.
I still don't understand that one.
I guess he thought by shooting Reagan that was going to make Jodie Foster love him. Like, but don't you know that Jodie Foster? Well, never mind.
Well, joke's on him because Jodie Foster didn't love any man.
Because she really don't love men per se. So you thought that was. Yeah, I had to see Assassins, the musical for that one. I was like, oh.
Not the musical.
Assassins is a musical about these people who either killed the president or tried to kill a president.
I never heard of that.
Yes.
No, and it was a musical.
Stephen Sohan. Great.
No, thank you. I don't like musicals. There's only I only like a couple of them. I like Grease.
I'm about to kick you out of this room.
Sorry, I like Grease. I like Hairspray and Sound of Music, if that's considered a musical. I guess Sound of Music.
I like them in real life.
Like
the very first one I saw was on Broadway was Jesus Christ Superstar, and that hooked me. Oh my God, I can watch the movie now and still get tears in my eyes. And I'm an atheist, but maybe it's part of it is the memory of that first show because I was my early 20s at the most. But I've seen a number of Broadway shows, and I love them.
And I can't anything with Andrew Lloyd Webber. I'm like, get out of my face.
With all the dancing.
I hate to tell you this, Tracy, but I traveled to New York City to see Cats at the Winter Garden 7 times.
The worst musical of all time. I'm like, what is this about? What?
7 times I drove to New York City, 2 hours to see Cats.
Why? This literally has no plot. The Cats. That's the whole plot.
No, wait a minute. What I tell people before they see it you have to know the story behind it or you won't understand it. It does have a plot, it has a story, but you have to know it.
Terrible songs, and the movie was, oh my gosh. I'm like,
I have the CD of the movie, which doesn't come close to the stage show.
First of all,
but I actually had gone so many times that I start crying long before the crying time because I know it's coming. I brought my brother one time, who's not a fan of musicals or stage shows or wasn't a fan. And I said to him, "You'll cry." And he said, "Yeah, right." Guess what? He cried.
Yeah, I'm crying because I'm laughing at how terrible. Oh, anything with Andrew Lloyd Webber, I want to see it. And I've seen Evita, I've seen Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoats, I've seen Cats, I've seen Starlight Express. No, go away. Yeah, me.
No, sorry.
On the out.
Andrew Lloyd Webber is a genius when it comes to
Oh
plays.
my gosh, that guy is awful. He is the worst of the worst. I did not like Jesus Christ Superstar because I kept asking, okay, what happened? Because I know the story, so you're not gonna get one over on me. You're not gonna get that little stuff on me.
It's a creative license.
Creative license is one thing, but garbage is a whole nother.
That's your opinion, and I think you're in the minority in that.
Probably, but I don't. Me and Andrew, no. But I love. I was in plays when I was like 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. So I love stage plays. I'd rather go see a stage play than a movie any day of the week.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Any day of the week, I want to see people on a stage acting. I do not like movies, but I love stage plays. No,
yeah, I agree.
Good ones, not terrible ones. Cats is terrible, but Starlight Express is like, huh?
How many years did Cats play?
Too many
at the Winter Garden.
Too many. One too many. I cannot. My favorite musical is Oklahoma. That is my all-time favorite musical.
Oh my God!
Down the plane.
Love it. That's why I'm like, if I ever visit the state of Oklahoma, I know their state song. I already know it. I can sing it all the way through. I know every song from beginning to end, just like the West Side Story.
Tracy, as horrible as Cats was, it was at the Winter Garden for 18 years nonstop.
Yeah,
that's not counting the road shows. That's just at the Winter Garden. 18 years.
You know
that tells me a few people went to see it.
That's
1 or 2
years too long.
million.
18 years too long. That Andrew Lloyd Webber is the worst.
I take it Tracy's not a fan.
I don't know.
I have a hint.
And I'm a big fan.
And she is. I'm like, no.
Y'all cancel each other out.
No. I love it.
I understand that a movie was made of it and it was horrendous.
You didn't see the movie?
The new one? No.
Yes. Mm-hmm. First of all, the female cats had boobs. Okay, and the male cats had human male parts on a cat body.
Oh,
yeah, that's what y'all said.
Mm.
Jennifer Hudson was the best part, but to me, Fantasia is the better singer. But that's just me.
I don't know. They both have voices of angels.
I like Fantasia. I'm not saying Jennifer Hudson can't sing, but she tends to she don't team too muchery for me. Like me.
Sounds like somebody's hating on Jennifer Hudson. I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't dislike her, but I'm like, nah, she don't team too muchery for me.
Love it.
She did a little bit too much in there. I'm like, girl, if you don't sit down, but I'm definitely gonna go see In the Heights. And you know, when Hamilton was on the Disney Plus, I told my sister, I said, hey, share that password because you know what I'm going to go do. Share it. I loved Hamilton. I didn't think I was going to like it when they said rap. I'm like, that's not a musical. Oh, I loved it. Of course, it's not really history. But I'm like, I'm not going to see it for a history lesson.
Oh, so I see. It's okay for poetic license for ones you like, but not for ones you don't like. Excuse me?
That I don't like. But anyway, Andrew Lloyd Webber is crap. Oklahoma's greatest musical of all time, and West Side Story is a close number 2. I love that musical. At least 50 or 60 times. At least. And The Wiz is terrible because Diana Ross was too old to be playing Dorothy. Like girl said,
poetic license.
Right.
License, but she way too old. I'm like, girl.
So I like The Wiz, but they love to threaten my black card. I like The Wizard of Oz better. I'm sorry. Like I love it better.
I love The Wizard of Oz. I hate The Wiz.
I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite is The Wizard of Oz. Like I grew up on that, and I think I found The Wiz after. So It just wasn't the same for me.
I watched them both, and I prefer The Wizard of Oz any day. Give me Judy Garland, Ray Bolger, the guy that plays the lion, and the guy that plays the Tin Man.
Bert Barr.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, his name
and how the hell? I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. How does this shit come out of my head?
I don't know, but I was like, his name is. Yeah, I don't. I'm like, I always tell my Facebook friends every year, if you think The Wiz is better than The Wizard of Oz, we cannot be Facebook friends. You can't, because you literally make no sense.
I mean, I love The Wizard of Oz. That is like, for me, that's the the end all be all. I love it.
Well, it's the classics.
Yes,
it's the classics.
Mm-hmm. Sound of Music's the same thing. Like, I force my children to watch it with me. I sing all the parts, and they have to sit there and listen to mommy sing "The Hills Are Alive" with The Sound of Music. That's my, I love it.
Like musicals. Oh no, musicals are a part of my life.
Not my jam. But there's certain ones that broke through, like Grease. Love Grease.
Grease is terrible.
Okay, now we have to break up.
The movie.
Now we're breaking up.
They're both terrible.
First of all, that was John great. Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
You knew they was too old to be playing in high school.
No, like, they were perfect.
In no high school.
I got chills.
Girl, no, we're going to go on that. No.
Stockard Channing. Oh, such a good movie.
They knew they was too old. I'm like, yeah,
whatever.
No, I ain't no dang.
Perfect.
Poetic license. Poetic license.
Poetic license.
That's not license. They just straight up.
I'm like,
such a great movie. Oh, yeah, it's too old.
That's a great movie.
Did you ever hear of suspending disbelief? What's the word for that?
Right. Cognitive
there's a word for it.
Cognitive dissonance.
No, there's a word specifically for that. Suspending disbelief. Like, I think it pertained to reading science fiction when it first came out. You have to suspend your disbelief to get into the story.
Grease is terrible. I love Hairspray, but I don't like hair.
Oh man, Good Morning Baltimore. Oh my gosh, I love that.
And they have a main character's name is Tracy. Oh, whoa.
Look. Something blab turn or something, right? Like blab something.
Tracy Trimble, I think is her name.
Oh, where did I get the blab from? Mer.
And you know one thing about the Hairspray, and then I gotta cut this short. The mother is never played by a woman. I've seen Hairspray 80 times, and I've never seen a woman play the mother.
I want to say, what's the one that John Travolta played the mom? That's one of my favorites.
Hairspray.
Yeah, I know, but which was Ricky Lake the girl, or was that a different girl?
Ricky Lake was in the original movie.
Okay. So then that must have been another girl. Turnblad. That's what it was. It was Turnblad. I knew I had blab something. It was Turnblad.
I thought it was Tramadol. Or not Tramadol. That's a prescription.
Big Pharma rears its ugly head.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I love musicals. Nothing you're gonna say will turn me off of them. Nothing. I would almost miss a football.
All the singing, like all the Tyler Perry plays, I started fast forwarding past the singing. I can't take it. Give me words.
Those are terrible. Now the Tyler Perry musicals, the gospel, all of those are terrible. I will give.
Not when it first started. Like Family Reunion was good, but then when he got to like Medea Does Whatever, I was just like,
Medea is preschool. Really?
It's too much. Medea starts a new nunnery. I don't know. I'm just like, I can't. But when it first started, it was good, so it was well worth it. But now he's a billionaire that's taking advantage of the poor writers. So he
doesn't let anybody write except for him.
And if he does, he won't let them have any benefits, doesn't give them, whatever creative license or whatever. So he's pretty terrible. But that's how billionaires make their money, by disenfranchising the little guy. So yeah. But anyway, before I get started, I love you guys. This was amazing. I missed you guys. Well, Tracy, not you. I just saw you on Tuesday.
Yeah, you just saw me last week.
Right. But you're going on hiatus soon, right, Tracy?
That's right. We're going on hiatus that last week of June and that first week of July. So we won't tape until July the 9th. It'll start that Saturday, that last Saturday in June, we won't tape. Then that July 3rd, we won't, because that's July 4th week. And I'm like, ain't nobody gonna feel like, hey, I'm still gonna do the episode about patriotism and fake patriotism. But that's gonna be a solo one.
Nice.
Unless you guys
Hey, Talisha, I'll put the 2 memes I made with Andrew Clyde. I'll put them in the chat room.
Chat. Please do. I can't wait to see it.
you
He has the best memes.
You guys get this full episode on probably tomorrow because I gotta wait for it to load up and it takes forever.
Okay.
But I'll see y'all later.
Bye, guys.
Okay.
Love
Bye.
And wait till next week's topic. Y'all gonna really love it.
you. I'm sure.
So I will see y'all later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.